Is Star Wars saved? We don't know that, but we know Hollywood may be bailed out, and MGM is for sale as we got Cecil here on Midnight's Edge in the morning. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is. Welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. I'm Tom Connors. With me, as always, is the boss man himself, Andre. How you doing?
Greetings. I'm good, thank you. On this wonderful afternoon, it actually is in my actually early evening in my time zone. So yeah, funny name of the show. But other than that, I'm good, and I hope that so is the rest of our panel.
I hope so too. Speaking of, we have our resident physician with us, Script Doctor. He has the cure for all your entertainment needs. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody.
Welcome, welcome. And we also have with us our special guest this morning, the one, the only, Cecil.
Hello.
How you doing today?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
We rustled him out of bed early, and we got him here on time. We're ready to go.
I saw you sent me an invite. I hopped into the show last night, and then I was like, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm gonna like clock in like, I don't know, 12 hours or something. I went to bed early. So I went to bed at like 10 something, and I woke up at like 2 in the morning, and I was just up. And I was on with Ethan. For some reason, Ethan was streaming. I don't know. And I had to I had to change my location. So I drove and then hopped on the air till like 6, and it was fucking just, I don't know. And then I went back to sleep at 6 and woke up at 11.
It sounds like my life sometimes.
Fucking worst sleep. I don't have a heart attack or something. This is like, I feel like every biorhythm is off. Like it just, people are not meant to sleep in like 3 hours, stay up live stream for 5 hours, go back to sleep for 3 hours. But we'll see.
We're not.
It is what it is. And speaking of that, we also have quite an international collection of people watching us today. So to everyone in the chat watching, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate that. We have DB Cooper with us. We have Eric J.R. Maldonado Herrera joining us. And we have Sontar joining us, who even sent us a $5 super chat to start us off with today, saying, pulled a co-worker out of the way of a forklift this morning. Things are getting too relaxed around here. Stay aware of your surroundings, people. Yes.
All right.
Well, first of all, awesome. Congrats, applause. I mean that sincerely. Stay alert, and if the people around you aren't alert, then it's a good thing that you are. Avoid an accident at work. It's very important.
They owe you a life debt now.
So yeah, fantastic work, Mr. Sontar. Really, really appreciate that. And we have Squisher is joining us. Pescando is joining us. And we also have Mr. Tickle Trunk joining us, who sent us a super sticker. So thanks for that. And Freedom wants Ray to marry him, which is brilliant.
Because that's how you spelt it, and not R-E-Y. I mean,
well, I'm sure that whichever Ray you're referring to,
or Ray Stamp,
or Ray Palpatine.
Well, that was R-E-Y. That's what I'm saying. That's how she spelled it.
And of course, we also have sending us $5, saying, hi, gents. Even if Star Wars isn't saved, we are seeing some effort to adapt now. Regardless of the motivation and what they produce, it feels like progress.
Yeah,
and of course, we're going to get into all of that. I would like to say, though, if everyone watching this, it would be a huge help if you could hit like and ideally help share that we are in fact live right now, because this platform doesn't always do a very good job promoting that until after we are no longer live. So it would be great if you could help us get the word out, and also make it part of your day to check this out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Mr. Tickle Trunk also said hire script, or hashtag I should say, hire script doctor, which Hollywood should absolutely do that.
Yeah, I've been getting some interesting emails and DMs about my little Doctor Who speculation we did on I did on Gary's when Gary was doing the morning show. So I might actually elaborate on that in the future.
Rocket and Jet says, if Cecil is on time, I want my money back.
Sorry about that. Can I give advice for Xantar now that he saved somebody's life?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two ways you could play that. It's you could do it cool, and anytime he brings it up, or it's like this, you go, it was nothing, don't even mention it, be that guy. Or you could be what I would be, which was like almost every day. It'd be like, remember that time I saved your life?
Go get me some McDonald's.
There's only two. You got to choose now which one you're going to be. I know which one I would be.
You owe me a life debt, dude.
Yeah.
There you go. And DB Cooper, he has a question for £5. Of course, we're going to answer it. How long does CBS All Access have left, especially in the current climate? And the answer is, of course, they're already dead and they're living on borrowed time. It's going to get... it's basically CBS All Access. The official story is that it's going to get repackaged into Paramount Plus. The real story is that CBS in its All Access in its current form is going to get shut down, and Paramount Plus will replace it. That is what's really going on.
Failed experiment.
Yeah, pretty much. So that was that's the legacy of what's his face again?
Les Moonves.
Thank you. That guy.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of love for Cecil in the chat as well. So glad all of you are filing in and saying hello this morning. We got Spider Unlimited, it looks like, says, good day all. Would Midnight's Edge ever be interested in producing an independent content such as film or stories? Merry Christmas to all. Well, happy holidays to you. And actually, that's a very definite possibility at some point, probably, I would say.
I'm not going to say that anything concrete is in the works yet, but it's something that we want to do. And 70s rock fan says for $5 thank you so much. Hollywood is the disease. Midnight's Edge and Cecil are the vaccine. So, yeah. And Adrian Nasaruk sent us a super sticker for £5. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And
another one for Mr. Trickle Trunk as well.
Yes, and Mr. Tickle Trunk, he wants all of you to go near your speakers as I say,
and the ladies just went wild.
Yeah.
And Sandra Hammer, go ahead. I was say Sandra Emerson says MGM for sale again. I was gonna say, yeah, the headline it should be when MGM is not for sale. They should throw out a headline.
Exactly.
Oh, the world will stop if MGM ever advertises we're in the black.
That would be something. We'll get into that. But for right now, gentlemen, let's
what was that, Cecil?
When they say we're the vaccine, he means we're going to be forced on you by your government, which I'm all for.
I don't know about that, but I think the government tried to shut us down. So,
on that note, Improbi says, if Cecil is a disease, where do I get infected?
Right.
All right.
But gentlemen, let's get serious and let's get into the first main topic of today, which is the rumors that Disney may be trying to basically salvage Luke Skywalker, as they apparently have figured out that is the key to saving Star Wars. Now, this rumor comes from WDW Insider, and it's been reported by, among other places, Pirates and Princesses, which is the blog of Clownfish, the YouTube channel. So absolutely go and check that out. But yeah, basically the gist of the story is this. Namely, that Disney have kind of figured out that they really dropped the ball with the sequel, and that they need to salvage Luke Skywalker because everyone needs Luke Skywalker. Disney needs Luke Skywalker to work. Game developers need Luke Skywalker to work. Like third-party merchandisers, they all need Luke Skywalker to work because no one cares about any of the characters associated with the sequel trilogy. So OG is where it's at, and Luke Skywalker is where it's at. So what we saw in the Mandalorian Season 2 finale, and if you haven't seen that yet, and I just spoiled you, then tough luck. How the hell did you manage to get so far without being spoiled? But But yeah, so what are your thoughts on that? That Disney seemed to have come to the conclusion that maybe we shouldn't burn the past after all. Cecil, your thoughts?
I think it's absolutely insane that they spent $4 billion on getting Luke Skywalker and put out 5 shit movies before they realized people want Luke Skywalker. It's like I don't know. It's like a restaurant paying for a liquor license and then nearly going out of business before they start serving alcohol. Yeah. It's what the fuck are you doing? I'm sorry. Can I curse on this channel?
Of course.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's mind-boggling. They were buying Luke. That $4 billion was for Luke Skywalker. For the fact that it took them this long to put Luke Skywalker on screen, and yes, that was not Luke Skywalker on screen during any of the movies. This was the first time we saw Luke Skywalker, and it's kind of crazy that people with high-paying salaries took them this long to realize this is what the people wanted. It's asinine.
Yeah, you can absolutely say that. I would have to correct you a little bit, though, because you said there were 5 shit movies. But let's be fair. People like that one scene in Rogue One. You know, the one with
the one that
Vader.
causes all the problems?
Yeah, they like that one scene. So let's be fair and say that it's 4 3/4 of a movie that people dislike.
Right. So
well, I didn't mind Star Wars and Glorious Bastards, but like I think you pointed one of the first ones to point out to me, Script, that that really shouldn't be Vader at that point in his career.
Yeah,
I think, well, we see him beaten down and we see him talked back to by a bunch of bureaucrats and like 3 scenes later and shit like that.
Well, think of it this way: is an antagonist really that threatening if he lowers himself to destroy peons and not let his own peons do the work for him? I mean, it's like having Vladimir Putin come down. I mean, Vladimir Putin come down and do a personal assassination instead of having someone else do it, hypothetically speaking, of course. Like you take a political figure or one of the most powerful people in the universe, and you're like, oh, he's just going to kill nameless rebels? Like, that's not Vader at this point in his life, 20 years after being established as the Dark Lord of the Sith, the Emperor's best friend, so to speak, second only to Tarkin. Like, no, it's cool. I'm not going to dispute that. It is cool. It just feels very out of character. I would imagine Darth Vader's apprentice doing all that type of stuff, not Darth Vader.
Why is he getting his hands dirty at this point?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, our first instance of him, he doesn't get his hands dirty at all, and any kill he makes, it's very intimate. He kills Captain Antilles by strangling him in interrogation and then breaking his neck. Then he force chokes the admiral that's giving him lip over in the Death Star. And then he kills Obi-Wan one-on-one. And then in Empire, every person he kills, it's one at a time, intimately. I mean, the only person he kills in Return of the Jedi is the Emperor, and again, intimately. Like that's Vader's thing. It's
well,
personal.
And the guy even says, no one's afraid of your, ancient religion,
ways. Yeah,
your sorcerous ways. Like, yeah, they're even treating him like he's some relic. Like, like he hasn't been doing like you just said, like he's probably been letting all his lackeys do all his work for him for the last 10, 15 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what they ended up doing is the whole putting the Death Star plans on that disc and then handing it off physically. It was all contrived means to get Vader to be the guy that goes after it. I mean, I always imagined that, they're sending actual transmissions. Multiple transmissions were going to the ship. That's why they followed the transmission. They saw the ship, and that's why they found Leia's ship, is they're following a transmission, just like you would follow a radio transmission, figure out where it's going and whatnot. But no, it's literally that ship was there, and then it just jumped into hyperspace, and they followed it that way. A little anticlimactic, a little less conniving, a little less imperial, in my opinion. But that was just my take. That kind of threw me off.
Yeah, absolutely a point to that.
Yeah, and even when he flew the TIE fighters in Episode 4, he killed each soldier, each Y-wing one at a time. And he told this TIE fighters, I'm on the leader, that type of thing. He's making it personal.
Well, he wants that Skywalker kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just doesn't know why yet, because the reason wasn't invented until the next reason.
Exactly.
The next movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Tonister Tree says, and this goes to your bit a little bit. The joke is to put your junk on the speaker, Kurtzman. I don't know if he's listening, but
oh boy,
that would be the key. That is the key. Yes. And Pop Culture Avenger says, Merry Christmas, Andre, Tom, and all. Great stream with ADF last night. Thank you. Keep up the interviews. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us last night. That was a great interview with Alan Dean Foster. Very enlightening.
I also have, you know what, on that interview, I just have to say one thing. I also have to give some extra kudos to Tom for sorting it out, because, of course, we weren't going to spend any time talking about it yesterday as we were having the interview. But we were actually having major technical issues behind the scenes, and Tom was able to work it out, to basically use one app through another app and make them work in a way that none of them were ever designed. 3 apps, even worse yet, and make 3 apps that were never meant to interact, still were able to route one through the other to bring you all the interview. So yeah, we were a little bit late, and it did look a little bit wonky compared to what you're used to right here. But still, we were able to pull. Tom deserves massive credit for being able to figure out how. So applause, Tom.
I'm more impressed that I figured out in a few minutes.
And also, of course, massive thanks to the great Alan Dean Foster for joining us for the interview. So if you haven't seen it, if you didn't see it live, then go to the interviews playlist and see it right there. It was magnificent. We're going to put out some clips of it as standalone videos. You're going to love those. But yeah, and also thanks to PJ over at the Orville for fixing it for us, for setting it up. So yeah, that was brilliant. And Alex Acera sent us $9.99 also, so thank you. It's like donations like that keeps the light on, saying, so will Star Wars and other franchises start addressing diversity issues by creating and making new characters like what Mando has been doing? Also, given Bo-Katan was not race-bent, will FNF keep gingers?
Filoni and Favreau? Potentially. Well, that's the thing.
Yeah, potentially.
Is basically, if anything's been on screen already, they've got to kind of adhere to a point, I'm sure. And I mean, the only exception, I guess, at this point would have been Ahsoka, because she's orange. I mean, you could really just about have anybody.
I don't know Bo-Katan. She's not a natural redhead, but she has
but the character was in the original, and they had the same person player who actually did the voice, which they kind of modeled the character after her to begin with, and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, as opposed to like Ahsoka Tano, as she was already kind of established when they brought in, what's her face to play her,
Rosario Dawson,
yeah. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. Like, if they bring in... That's the thing, though, is we're also in a situation where, like, Mara Jade hasn't been fit into this universe in a proper way. Like, if they bring her in, who knows? I don't know if they will or not. What do you guys think? I mean, there is this thing of killing the gingers, you know. Cecil, what do you think?
I mean, it's not a conspiracy theory about the gingers being killed. I mean, every single, you know, especially the comic book ones, as soon as it goes to television or it's usually a black person. So it's almost comical at this point. It's so expected, and it's funny. It doesn't happen to anybody except the redheads. It's like a wipeout.
Yeah. No, redheads are the new red shirts.
Yeah, because like they tried, and Script will back me up on this. They have been trying for the last 20 years to give us a black Jimmy Olsen, and they finally did in Supergirl.
Yeah.
Chris Rock at one point was actually cast as Jimmy Olsen in Superman Lives. I shit you not.
Ah, there you go.
As the most foul-mouthed Jimmy Olsen of all time.
Right?
I'm Superman's motherfucking pal.
He's flying. What the fuck? Roger Haynes sends in a super sticker. Thank you so much. As he's from Canadian as well as our Canadian brethren Script. Thank you so much. I love our international and national audience. It's so amazing that we have so many people listening. I appreciate it. Would you guys also hit that like button? I'd appreciate that as well. That also helps the algorithm let everybody know that you like what you're seeing here. And we can continue to get guys like Cecil to come on. You know, he doesn't just come anywhere. He doesn't slum it. So
right.
Yeah, no, waking up in the morning is hard. So yeah,
I'm very selective. I have a reputation and an image that I have to keep. I'm always worried about. I'm checking my Q rating right now. But the Alan Dean Foster thing is, I think the Phantom Menace has just done a great job getting this guy's story. You guys should be commended for that.
Well, thank you.
I saw Anna's video earlier this week. I saw Gary. I mean, everybody's just been getting that story out, and it's complete bullshit. I mean, it's really infuriating. I was kind of late to the game of hearing. I only heard about it in the last week, so I just.
Well, as a writer yourself, I can imagine that does kind of hit home to a point too.
Oh, absolutely. I have an extensive bibliography, and no, it's
don't sell yourself short. You've written comics and stuff. You've done stuff, man.
Yeah, but it's just infuriating to see a man at this stage of his life and facing up for, like he said, not asking for charity, but having to beg for the money that is already owed for him.
Right. In his contract, in the first line of his contract.
You should not have to beg for your own. He's begging for his own money. It's infuriating to this, base. And also it's the amounts are not insane. I mean, this is like a rounding error on a week.
Yeah, he made that point too in the interview. For anyone wondering, we're of course talking about how Alan Dean Foster got screwed out of the royalty payments, and for someone who I saw was wondering, like Mark Burtonshaw in the comments, yes, this is live, as in right now in this moment. but he even said this in the interview. Mr. Foster did that. That it's not a huge amount of money. Like really, if you just went into the cafeteria at Disney and you collected like the loose change on the floor, that would probably cover it. Yeah. So it's really just like it's just pure evil and malice or incompetence.
Well, and he kind of pointed out he thinks it's probably just some money person. Probably he's not blaming the uppers, but what I see here, and I didn't bring this up last night because obviously it's not prudent to bring up in front of him, but the way I see it is they've had ample opportunity to do something about this. And if Alan has to take them to court over this, it's going to cost them more in the end than if they just paid him in the first damn place.
It's going to cost them goodwill for sure.
Exactly. Not only that, yeah, exactly. Goodwill. I mean, and that was what I was going to get to next, is they're basically making themselves out to be a Scrooge in this story right now. Like,
you know what? Disney should like change their logo from Mickey Mouse to Uncle Scrooge. Right. It would be far more suitable.
I'm keeping me money. Anyway, what were you saying, Cecil? Sorry.
There's no way to spin it where they're the good guys in this story. I mean, it's Christmas time. You got a guy in his mid-70s with his wife with health issues. He's facing cancer and he's begging for his own money. And I did love the line he added in the letter to Disney where he said, Bob Iger once said, how we do one thing is how we do everything. And that's telling. So they could say it's getting lost in the shuffle, but I think they're just, I don't get it. I think all of us making noise about it will get this taken care of, because this is a PR nightmare. There's no way for them to look like the good guys in this situation.
No, because Bob could have fixed this right away. Fuck, if anything, he could have made it look even better by cutting a guy a $500,000 check right now, just being like, here you go. That'll cover from here till eternity for, and he'll never have to work, just to make Disney look good. And you know what? That's nothing for Disney to just give him $500,000 right now.
No, just reduce a little.
Low levels.
Yeah, no, just take a little bit from the executive bonus and allocate some of that towards that, to buying some goodwill.
Now, does he? I don't know his story. Does he have kids? Because a lot of these deals are in perpetuity. So after his death, it goes to his kids, his grandkids. So
I'm not 100% sure on that, but I mean, he even said like in his original contract that, because that's the argument that he got back from the money guy in Disney, was that, they bought or that's what he said in the press, I should say, I think is they bought the property, meaning they didn't buy the obligation. And he's like, I don't know where he gets that idea, because in the first line of my contract, it says, until, basically, I don't remember the exact wording he said, but basically anybody who buys the license from here on out carries this responsibility with them. Like it comes with the deal, and this is common practice in any,
even with buying a house with a mortgage or a car with a lease, you can't be like, I changed owners. The payments stop at this point. No, it has to be settled. It doesn't make why wouldn't a company just make deals with people, sell it to one company and have them sell it right back just to wash all obligations?
Yeah, and he doesn't understand because, he's had no problems getting his residuals for The Force Awakens and all that kind of stuff was taken care of. And, he's worked with Disney, since, they took over Star Wars. So it's not new, but it's just these specific books he's not seeing any residuals for. So it's just odd. And it would be one thing if it was just the Lucasfilm books, but it's not. It's also the Alien novels and stuff too. So it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he has kids and grandkids and stuff like that, because that's a lot of well, it's still not a lot of money, but it's like if it's payments in perpetuity, then it's forever. So his work should be getting, as long as it's being sold, he gets his, what is it, half of 1% or something like that.
I don't know, but it's available on, I'm sure, any digital book outlet. I mean, he basically is saying like all the Star Wars books are still in print. All the books that he's, done. The only ones that he talked about that they have that are not in print anymore was, which one was it? The Black Hole, right?
Yeah, the Black Hole. Yeah, he did the novelization of the Disney classic, The Black Hole, a movie he apparently isn't that big a fan of. But
I think he said that was through the publisher anyway. So that one he said has no problems with. So
yeah. But again, it's no longer in print, so it's not like it was going to be anything from that one anyway. So yeah.
But no, like I know, I get it. Like, we're sitting here talking about, and it could even be not even hundreds of dollars a month, obviously, but it could even be more than that. Because think about how many people are Star Wars fans, and the Legends books still sell. Even though they slap that Legends on there, they still sell. I'm always seeing people post their new books online and everything. So, I mean, there's a fan base there for it, or they wouldn't keep printing them.
Yeah, I think it's just people right now with so many people losing their jobs, and it's like just hearing a dude getting fucked over, especially by one of the biggest corporations in the history of the planet. Like, it's just like, it's such a fuck you Disney moment. It's like, come on. And especially this guy, and like I said, he's not asking for charity, he's asking for his own money. He's begging for his money. And I don't know. I got very angry by this whole story.
No, and rightfully so. And I think we all did. And I think that's hopefully Disney sees the light of day, but as it's getting later and later now, the longer they take to do anything about this, the worse it looks for them. But Andrew Pitko says with $5, I would love to see an edition of the Golden Age of Sith. He's talking about, I suppose, like a spin-off TV show. Yeah, that'd be interesting. That's the thing. It'd be nice if they get away from everything we know, but now they're too afraid to. What do you guys think? That's a great way of segueing into this question. Do you think now that Luke went off with a hitch and it was mostly well received from the fans? And again, don't get me wrong. I know there's a lot of people out there who weren't too happy about it, didn't like it, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to say there isn't. But for the most part, they've gotten a lot of support for this. Do you think Disney's going to take the wrong message from this and start cramming in as many of the classic characters as they can?
R2-D2 Adventures show.
Well, I mean, what do you think is next? If since this went off so well, now that we got Luke, I mean, he's like the Pentaltium. You can only go downhill from there. But I mean, what's next? A Leia show?
Well, we have rumors to that, but first I want to hear what Cecil and Script have to say before we get into the specific rumors of what Disney actually might do and what they are considering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they go the route of ignoring the sequels and build towards something else. I think the fans would just love that. And by the way, this is just, I consider myself a little bit higher than a normie on, well, actually probably a bit more in the last few years because I've been hanging out with so much Fandom Menace. But I have friends who, just watched this the other day, and I have a friend who I didn't even know watched Star Wars. That's a total normie. And he's just like, man, I almost cried when I saw Luke Skywalker. I was like, really? I was like, and this is like a complete normie. and then he hated those Star Wars movies, like absolutely never, didn't even finish them. Like would rent them or start watching them on streaming and just never finished them.
The sequels.
The sequels. So nobody wants this tied. Not normies, not hardcore fans. Nobody wants it tied. So if they're gonna can they just listen to the fans for this and just do something to retcon it, or just say, that's an alternate timeline or something. They have to. But if they're gonna start building towards the first daughter and that shit, I'm just gonna lose interest so quickly because we know how the story ends and it sucks.
Yeah. Script?
I'm actually a little bit divided on this because I worry that even if they are going into a new direction, we're going to get nothing more than fun with lightsabers whenever a Jedi is involved. And that's not really it's a Star Wars aspect, but it's not what made Star Wars Star Wars. What made Star Wars was the characters. For instance, Luke Skywalker's character was not destroyed by being blown up or killed by a lightsaber. He was destroyed by the actions that was written for him to follow. And I think that's something everybody who, whether you're in the fandom menace or not, whether you're a fan of the films, should pay attention to, is that we need moments of Luke Skywalker coming into becoming a wise and experienced Jedi. And I also find that any action set piece you give me of Luke Skywalker will never compare to him facing down the most powerful being in the galaxy, which was the Emperor. You're just not going to do anything that's more impactful than that, unless you bring in another big baddie that's worse than the Emperor, in which case you still have to have Luke Skywalker face him down, and not with a sword, but with his wits, his guile, creativity, imagination. Those are the things that make heroes heroes. Having a hero slaughter a bunch of robotic droids, that's like, it's literally mopping a floor. It's as consequential as you would have mopping a floor. You want to see something that's got some great drama, some great philosophy, some great morals, some stories, things that make us look at Luke as a role model as opposed to just an action hero that is quote unquote badass. Like anybody can write a badass character, but to make one that we want to grow up to be, look no further than the original trilogy to find that example and live up to that. That's what I would hope they would do.
Yeah. I speak on those the robotic I forget what they're called, juggernauts. What were they called? The dreadnoughts, or in that scene?
I think the dark
troopers, death troopers,
the dark troopers, the Cylons.
The Cylons. So exactly. At least, they nerfed and have made stormtroopers such a joke in this series that at least for once you felt some tension as they were breaking down the door, and you saw how hard it was for Mando to beat one of them, and then you see hundreds of them show up, whatever, dozens of them show up, and you're just like, there was actually a sense of like urgency, how are they going to get out of that before Luke came? But has there ever been a time in this entire series where you see a platoon of stormtroopers show up and you think, oh, now they're in trouble?
No, and that's terrible. And the other part too, the Dark Troopers were a wasted opportunity, because if you were to say, oh, we have these disposable robots that are easily programmable and do what we say and are virtually indestructible, why aren't they trying to annex liberated worlds that the worlds that the Republic liberated? Why don't we have like 3 or 4 of them that are able to control an entire planet, and that causes issues for the Mandalorian, thus building up the fact that, oh, darn, the Empire is actually going to have a threat. In which case, and if you actually have, say, them go up against Ahsoka and she struggles just to defeat one of them, then it actually shows, hey, even when Luke Skywalker shows up, it's like, oh man, like, is he really? We know he's going to pull this off, but how is he going to do it? And what creative ways can we see that? That's usually what you want to do with an antagonist or an antagonistic force. And instead, as soon as Mandalorian has that pretty decent fight with the one, and then they're on that like catwalk with Luke Skywalker, it's just okay. He's just chopping them to bits like they're butter, which is basically almost a quote that George Lucas said to Steven Spielberg when he introduced them to the droid army. He's like, yeah, the Jedi just kind of chop these up like butter. That's not dramatic. That's not as fun.
Yeah, which only goes to show that George Lucas, he works best when he has someone also like saying, okay, these are good ideas. Now we're going to help you executing those ideas in the best way. Because my view is that That was the downfall of the prequels. There were great ideas in it, but they were terribly executed, and he needed a more competent storyteller and filmmakers to help him execute his ideas and just change the wrapping without doing anything else. Whereas the sequel trilogy, they didn't have his excellent ideas. They had a crap story at the bottom, to the extent of which there even was one over the course of the trilogy, and that's kind of like what screwed them. So yeah, if they only had like taken George Lucas concepts and just worked on the presentation, but that's neither here nor there. But let's get back to the rumors at hand, because yeah, now we just went into a little bit with what you would like to see, but here's the rumors then, which is coming from WDW. I hate the letter W, so difficult to say. But anyway, that guy, and this Disney insider, and apparently the rumor from him goes that they won't. And again, these are just rumors, and it's one of multiple courses of action, but the one that they're looking into right now, and I would have to believe that's because Kathleen Kennedy is still there, is that they're not going to remove the trilogy from canon, but they're going to retcon it into later movies, and they're going to find a way to make it so that Luke Skywalker, he was on top of things the whole time. He was just pretending to be a loser. That might not even have been the real Luke Skywalker. It might have been another Force projection, which was there just to deceive Rey Palpatine, because she couldn't be trusted, because she was a Palpatine, and she had to be deceived to protect Grogu, because he is the one that's really going to bring balance to the Force, or unite the dark and the light, or something like that.
And sell all the toys.
Yeah, and that way, they're going to then retroactively redeem Luke Skywalker and cast even more shade on the sequel trilogy, possibly in a later Grogu trilogy. Gentlemen, let's just assume for a second that this rumor is accurate. Now, we don't know this, but let's just assume that it's accurate. What do you think about that? Is that the course of action you would be happy with?
Cecil?
I kind of I think that's what they're going to go. I'd be happier if they just. It would be such a fuck you to Rian Johnson. Maybe I'm being petty. I just want them to get an ultimate fuck you where they say nope, that doesn't exist. But we're not going to get that. More likely, it is going to be retconned. I had an idea I had a theory on the Baby Yoda one. People said it was so stupid it might actually be this. So I'll give the theory. I think they were given Favreau and Filoni were given the problem with Rey is, she's never got training. She's a Mary Sue, and she's really. I mean, I like Daisy Ridley, but she's not a likable character. She's not a hateable character. She's just blank. And I think they were like, hey, what if we link our probably most popular character in 40 years, our most loved Baby Yoda, and this one that people are just indifferent to, and make them linked. And my theory was that she is going to be the result of the cloning. She's going to be the clone that lives, young Rey. And then Palpatine's son is going to see that the plans for her and to save her hides her on that planet. What was it?
Jakku.
And hides her there so that she and so it's going to be, hey, you can't really hate Rey because she is Baby Yoda, and she subconsciously has his memory and his training. That's why she was so good at stuff, is because she actually has his training.
But she doesn't have his cuteness, though, Cecil.
Right, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be his soul. Like, it's going to be like if you can't hate Rey, because that means you hate Baby Yoda, because she's basically a clone of him, And my theory was that's what it's going to be. It's she was, they were showing all the failed experiments in the tubes. She's going to be the one that made it, and Palpatine's son hides her to save her, and it's going to be revealed that she was made from the Baby Yoda blood. So
I hope
Baby
not.
Yoda's baby sister.
Yep, exactly.
It's like, how many hoops do they have to jump through to try to like make you Ray likable? Like, just get over it. Okay,
It's
fine.
still
Yeah,
not going to
I
make her
like.
likable.
Yeah,
Don't make her
I
likable
like.
at all.
Yeah, I like Daisy Ridley. Daisy Ridley is awesome. None of this is her fault. So I like feel bad for her that Ray Palpatine is such a crap show. But I'm like, how many hoops are they going to have to try to jump through instead of just like discarding the whole thing and reboot it away? That's a simple course of action from my point of view. But script, what do you think?
I think that the best way to probably correct the course would be, unfortunately, to keep Luke Skywalker dead, but I would say lean into the lines that Palpatine spoke of in The Rise of Skywalker, where if Rey kills him, he joins her soul, and then start a new trilogy with her trying to fight off the Palpatine influence inside her mind, and then bring in Mara Jade Skywalker and Ben Skywalker as two that were hiding away in the galaxy training because Ben was still too young. Make him a kid, make him like 14, 15 years, and at least during the time of the sequel trilogy, and then pick up when he's like a young adult, like 21, 22, and it's him and his mom with the Force Ghost Luke guiding them to prevent Palpatine from taking over the body of Rey, and Rey's kind of like, messing around things in the galaxy because she's reckless. And everything's kind of off put. Like there's the New Republic that's recovering after the First Order. There is no First Order or anything akin to that at this time. It's just independent planets kind of figuring out their own thing and having their own scuffles, if you will. But keep it a very intimate story and lean into that, because at least you still have Luke Skywalker as a Force ghost, guiding his kid that he's been away from for a few years. You've got a new character, an older woman, maybe in her 50s, late 50s, playing Mara Jade Skywalker. I would expect Carrie Russell to do that personally, even though she's not quite that age, but why not? And I would have leaned into that and shown this journey of like, Luke still lives on through his legacy, and he's still able to be a guiding force for these newer characters.
Well, I don't know if they're going to go any of those routes, but I do know this much. I don't believe we're going to get a Luke series, but if we do, then I don't know.
Sebastian.
No, I don't see. That's the other rumor going around, but I don't see him doing that either. Now, script, you sent me a long email last night, and I didn't get a chance to read it all, but I did kind of skim through it and got the summation at the end there. And I feel like you were kind of onto something with like a lot of what's going on behind the scenes. And I'm not trying to steer the conversation in a different direction, but I think it is relevant in a sense of like, I really do feel like we're seeing a little bit more of this whole push and pull on the inside of Lucasfilm. And I think you made the point that I've been trying to make too, is that I think a lot of these announced shows aren't going to happen, but notice how everything that Favreau is involved with is already pretty much going ahead. And if this Luke rumor is true, I don't know what it means for the whole entire thing. Like, I mean, I don't know about them retconning anything. I think Andre's more right with they'll just ignore the sequels from here on out. I mean, and that kind of goes with what you were kind of telling me with, the few shows that you think are going to happen besides that movie are just the shows that are related to The Mandalorian, pretty much besides the animated ones.
Well, yeah, because the animated ones, I think, were kind of like the easiest bet for them to do. They're a little cheaper. They take a little longer to produce, so they have to start working on them earlier. But yeah, I think the animated ones were kind of on the docket. I think the Visions one, I suspect the Visions is going to be any story that they were maybe weighing against the odds of success and saying, oh, we'll just throw it in here, and if it does well, at least that's our trial run for maybe investing into it into a more broader scope down the road.
Well, what I mean more so is all the other announced stuff we don't know anything about as far as any kind of start dates. We've got nothing solid, but we had Jon Favreau say flat out, yeah, Boba Fett's going into production and the Mandalorian's going in right after that. And, so those things are already a go.
Yep.
And I can imagine the Rangers show will come shortly thereafter, but we didn't hear anything about any of the other shows, and he was all like, yeah, I asked Kathy not to say that at the thing. So like, to me, it feels like he asked her not to, but it was his kind of choice. It sounded like to me to do this show. And do you get what I'm saying, Andre? I mean, as far as like, it feels more like Favreau's steering a bit of this than she is.
Yeah, here's the thing that I think that I think that Favreau only steers the Mandalorian spin-offs, and that's all his. And I think that he has little to nothing to do with anything else.
Right.
And I also think that those little to nothing anything else, those are the things that are at risk of not getting made in the end, because Disney are really gonna push the Favreau stuff as the new Marvel, which I'm all for. What has me slightly worried, though, is that this still happens within a corporate structure that where Kathleen Kennedy remains on top, and that is infused with her acolytes. I mean, just look at what's been going on recently, because you've had like this asshat. I don't remember his name, and it doesn't really matter. But there's like this asshat that's an editor at StarWars.com or something that's been going around telling all of these different news outlets that don't be too excited, because this is still the Luke Skywalker that's gonna end up that loser in The Last Jedi.
Something or other his name is.
So that's like the thing that I think that there's going to be loads of almost sabotage against what they're doing within Lucasfilm, because it's a company so divided, and that has me slightly worried. But yeah, so I think that those things are all going to get made, whereas I'm not so sure about all of the other things, which are Kathleen Kennedy's projects. The Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi one, yeah, that's definitely happening. I don't know how good it's going to be. My worry remains that that's a great opportunity to basically destroy both the young Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan and Darth Vader in one fell swoop. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with it.
They have to purge these people.
Exactly. You have to purge them completely. Like, you have to do a complete wipeout of every single person that every single ideologue, I should say, that was brought into the company. They all have to go.
Yeah,
because it can never be fully recovered till they are gone.
Go ahead, Cecil.
Well, yeah, it's just Sketch just wrote what I was about to say. COVID is a perfect excuse to wipe out these people, because they're going to have to downsize. I mean, they're losing so much money. The parks made so much money. And the things she did, I mean, the Star Wars park, that part, no one gives a shit. She insisted that it be, from the sequels. And, if you see Drunk 3PO does those park shows, and he's just like, people just walk around going, where's Luke? There's no Luke. It's Rey, it's Poe, it's Kylo. And it's just a bunch of tourists walking around going, where's Darth Vader? And it's like, oh, he's not here. We have Kylo. It's like, what? It's just a disastrous. It's hard to believe that no one is held accountable for these disastrous decisions. I mean, they're burning money. And especially now, like this year with COVID, yeah, this might be the excuse where an adult shows up and says, get these fucking people out of here. They fucking have caused enough damage to this franchise.
Well, one thing that keeps getting pointed out to us and others specifically who are, who do enjoy The Mandalorian and stuff, yes, we understand Kathleen Kennedy is still in control. We know her name is there as an executive producer. We know what she's up to, and that's, kind of getting back to what I was saying with the whole thing is, yeah, I think you're right, Andre. I think anything that Favreau has his hand in, Bob is automatically going to make sure it happens. As far as all this stuff that, Kathy has in her agenda, script was right. It's all stuff that was being repackaged from before. And I really don't see Lando getting off the ground. I don't see the Acolyte getting off the ground. We know Casio Keyboard's going to happen, but that's because they're force feeding that shit.
Yeah, they're filming it already.
Yeah, and the Bad Batch was already in the
happen. I think why I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen because it's going to have Darth Vader in it.
Yeah,
because no one cares about Casio Keyboard, as you say. No, nobody cares. There's literally, to my awareness, no fan demand whatsoever to see him. Maybe a little bit for the
everybody
robot.
Says the same. Yeah, exactly. Everybody says the same thing. I like the robot as long as he's in it.
Yeah, if they announced the show as K2SO, I think people would be interested.
Yeah, that's what they should name it, because, he's the one that people came for. He's the one that people cared about. But no, I think that it's going to be. I think that it's going to be a Darth Vader component. It's going to have like more Darth Vader moments. That's kind of like why that one is seeing the light of day. I can't imagine otherwise. But maybe you can speculate in something that I don't script.
All I know is that I remember when Rogue One came out, they were really pushing for more of that time. For like they wanted to do more Rogue films. I remember that intently. There was rumors of there going to be one between A New Hope and Empire. I think it dealt with them establishing their base on Hoth or something, but that was like the rumor at the time. But I also heard rumor that there was going to do a Darth Vader series that was going to take place during the same period of Rogue One. And when I heard that they were announcing like the Disney Plus series, I think that was like 2018 maybe. I figured, oh, that's what it's going to be, and then it just turned into Cassian Andor because they wanted to do a Rebel perspective things. But I don't know. I'm like, there's no premise to this show of Star Wars Andor that I've seen that's solid that would make me or even a casual fan want to take a look at this show. So this is going to be, unless they have some sort of really amazing hook to it, I think it might be a dud when it debuts.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't have any hope. I don't see it doing anything. Max Santiago says, "Do we have a Lucasfilm employee on our side? One, for fuck's sake." Yeah, Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
That's one. You probably got a few dozen others that are just not in any position.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
They're afraid to say anything.
Yeah,
That's
just
probably
the thing.
That's probably a good place to go back to some of the super chats, and then
Yes,
we can move on to the next topic.
Indeed. Let's see. I'm just going to get back to where we were because we got some to get through. Just give me 1 second here. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. We got a super sticker from Adrian Nasaruk. We said that, and Matt G wonders, Cecil, when's the next Hail Salad due out?
Tonight it's coming out. Hell Salad is a channel he puts together these like very bizarre out there cartoons where he just spends like months clipping together random sentences from the Jack Show, and then he animates them.
Oh, I gotta see that.
Yeah, have you ever watched that?
I don't think I've seen that. I've seen your other ones that one guy did, Michael Bancroft or whatever.
Yeah, that's good. This is really out there stuff though. Like if you get a chance, it's called Hail Salad. Give him a sub. It's bizarre. I wonder how it translates to people who have never watched the show because it's just really weird shit. And then you don't even realize like the weird sentences that we say because you're listening it back and say, I said that? Oh shit. But yeah, so he has one coming out tonight, and it looks like a doozy. Yeah, and tonight Cash Grab ends for good tonight. By the way,
oh yeah,
the last day. If you want to get in on Cash Grab on the Indiegogo, that's today's last day. Thank you.
All right, I will share the link for that in the chat.
Can I say one more thing before we change the subject?
No, go ahead.
I'm still going to keep in my back pocket a little hope, even though it's highly unlikely, that they will alternate universe it because of what's going on in the Marvel universe. They are introducing the concept of multiverse to normies, and they're getting it. So it's the more like they did it first with the Spider-Man Into the Multiverse. And even little kids understood it. You know, it was like, oh, he opened up this portal and there's alternate realities. And they did it really well where even little kids understood it. And then you got the Doctor Strange multiverse show coming out. Then you have the Spider-Man live action and multiverse movie coming out. Then you have WandaVision, where obviously she's going to be living in an alternate reality. So they are introducing the concept of alternate realities really well in the Marvel universe. So if the fan base and the general public at large are open to that idea and understand that concept, it gets a lot easier for them to do that with the sequel. So I'm still praying that they do it.
Yeah, indeed, me too. And with that, more super chats, and then we change topic. Tonister Tree says the joke is put your junk on the speaker, Kurtzman, in reference to something.
Yeah, we got to that one earlier. Yeah,
and Alex. And we got to that one too. And Roger Haynes said, sent us the thumbs up super sticker. So thanks so much. And Matt G says that Vader did pilot the TIE Fighter in episode 4, LOL. While he loved the ADF interview. Well, and we did the one from Andrew Pitko already, who wanted to see an edition of the Golden Age of the Sith. Math G, he has another question for you, Cecil. Will there be a Christmas Eve Jack show?
We'll find out today. I don't know. I threw out the question to my co-host yesterday. I think Anna's going to be away, and John had COVID, so he had a little health problems. So I don't know. I may do. If not, I'll do a solo stream. But I would like to. So the answer is I don't know.
Yeah, and
I'll do it with you, Cecil. It'll be a CT show.
I appreciate that.
And Pseudo Sign says, hey guys, I'd be happiest if Star Wars was simply retired. I know they want a good return on the investment, but nothing is better than something. And Taker610 says, sorry Grogu, your father Yoda is dead. He died in a swamp and that is where I left him. I found an island. You can have all the milk and all the eggs you want. Oh, yeah, there's that. And Andrew Pitko says for $10, thank you so much, if anyone killed Star Wars, it was Marsha Lucas when she divorced George and took half his money. That started a domino chain of events that led us to where we are. Well, yeah, but also would the original movies have been as good as they were without Marsha Lucas? Because she did a lot of good there. But yeah,
no, she cut those first two films, and it shows. They're quite good.
As much as I love George Lucas, let's be real. He was jealous that she won an Oscar for Star Wars, and he did not.
There's definitely some ego, and that there's a lot of divide from that relationship. But they should not have been married. But
he literally built Lucasfilm as like I've said this before. The prequels are more interesting if you put them up against Lucas's life, because they really mirror what he was doing with building Lucasfilm. He was literally building a fortress for his wife so she would never have to leave. I'm not even joking. That is seriously what his whole plan was. And Script can back me up on this.
I mean, that's one aspect of it. He wanted a safe haven for independent filmmakers.
Well, that too.
He publicized it. He's like, if you're an independent filmmaker and you want resources and you want funding and you don't want the studios to, rewrite your work, you come to Lucasfilm. That was his goal. Unfortunately, that the result of that never ended up occurring. He ended up becoming his own little private independent studio with the same rules and stipulations as the big boys.
He became another big boy other than for himself, because he was the one setting the rules for everyone else. But yeah, no, you know what they should have done? I do not remember the name of The Rock's wife, but the Rock, and that is like, The Rock, I forgot his real name. What's his name again? Rock.
Dwayne Johnson?
Thank you. Wayne Johnson and his wife, she was his production partner, but they couldn't make their relationship work, so they divorced, but they continued working as production partners. So she is still his agent, and also the agent of Henry Cavill, by the way. Yep. And they still got that thing going. So they saw that, we can't be a couple anymore, but we got too good a thing going here as partners to end that. It's a shame that Marsha and George couldn't keep that going, because
Marsha did cheat on George, so there's also
there is that, but
there is that. I'm not saying that, but anyways, still, I think that Star Wars would have been in a far better position if the two of them had been able to work together.
Yeah.
That's smart on their part. I give them credit for doing that, because don't fuck with your money. Like, I always think of Mick and Keith. all these other bands, they're like, we broke up because we hate each other. And it's like, yeah, we hate each other too, man, but we're not fucking turning down this money. Like whatever, we may not, hang out off stage, but, we do work well together. So why throw that away? So, so for The Rock to still be working with his ex-wife, I wasn't aware of that story, but it's smart. It shows there's a brain in there that's like, hey, there's no reason to stop what is working.
Yeah, then they are like one of the big powers behind the Snyder Cut and everything then coming, and also with Henry Cavill coming back as Superman. That wouldn't have happened without the constellation of Cavill, The Rock, and The Rock's wife, who is their joint agent.
I had no idea about that. That's
for real, because like he's Black Adam, right? And imagine how big it's going to be with Black Adam versus Henry Cavill's Superman on screen. And there's one agent that stands to benefit from it, since the same agent between both of them. That's like a powerhouse right there.
And she's single? Do you know if she's single?
She might be.
I don't know. If she
Cecil,
is.
If anybody can make her single, and it would be you.
Well, I think I'm the next logical step from The Rock.
She's gonna bring you to the gym though, because if you look at pictures of her, like I don't know who's stronger, her or The Rock.
Yeah, but I'm saying like she's already been there, done that with the big muscle guy. Maybe she just needs like a puddle of goo of a person, and I'd be there to step into that role perfectly.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the point. There's something for like getting it out of your system, and she has muscles every time she looks herself in the mirror.
She's bored with it. Exactly. She wants something new.
Yeah, exactly. Let's try Pudgy for a change. And BK0271 says, seeing Ray will always remind the fans of all the bad that happened, no matter what is changed. Start over fresh and let the sequel trilogy fade away. While Fallout Zone G says, keep out the great content. Thanks so much. Culture Casino is in here and sent us a unicorn super sticker. Thanks so much.
Yeah, that's Danny.
Holy those fucking arms! I thought that was almost a Photoshop.
No, I told you. Like you look at her, and you wonder, like, who's stronger, her or Dwayne?
I would feel so safe sleeping with her at night with her arms.
I'm not so sure she's always been a she, but I'm not gonna get into that.
No, that's a point of personal preference. So yeah. And then we have John Malin says, thoughts on two men engaging in Turkish wrestling, a battle of completely hetero wills and strength.
Danny will wrestle you.
Yeah. And Culture Casino also says Casio keyboard has had issues from the start. He's filming now, so it'll be interesting to see what
he's got issues in the end too, because he fucking dies.
Yeah, that's a pretty big issue. Oh, it's like talk about removing the stakes.
Yeah, don't go there script like this is going to go into some alternate universe where Casio keyboard's going to live.
No, they're who knows what they're going to do, but
it's just a prequel from my knowledge.
It is just a prequel, which is what the rumor is suggesting. But they make somehow Cassian Andor like half robotic, and he survived that. I'm gonna roll my eyes.
No. I'm thinking from the teaser trailer, because it's all like, I've done a lot of bad things, but I've done them all in the name of the rebellion and all that kind of stuff. So like, that's just what it's setting up, is that he's going to be the badass who did the things that nobody. He's the John Wick of the rebellion. He's the one who's got to get his hands dirty, to make this shit happen. That's what it's going to be about. So it could be interesting, but again, we're only going to give a shit about the damn robots. So
pretty much.
And
Perry Chan did a Jack Show Turkish oil wrestling special. If you want to, that was John Malin, my co-host from the Jack Show, who brought up So Perry Chan did this for us. If you want to take a look at it.
Oh, sure.
Ready to rumble!
I've seen this one.
Oh boy.
There goes our monetization.
What?
This is 29 seconds too long.
Oh my lordy.
Jesus.
So that's on YouTube. That's an actual sport, by the way. If you saw, there were crowds, and if you watch it, there's like children there, and it's an ancient oil wrestling sport. And you have to lift your opponent off the ground, and the only way, because they're so covered with so much oil, is to just get your hand down their pants. It's part of the it's part of the sport. So it. And it is odd to watch like the sport coverage of it, because there's like little kids watching. It's like the filthiest looking sport you ever saw. It's guys shoving their hands down each other's pants, but it's real.
There you go. And with that, we're not quite caught up. We have one super chat left, and then we're caught up.
Yeah, we had one more.
Cedric Taylor 08 says, when is she leaving and what are her duty, and is she staying or what? Yeah, Tom, take it away.
Well, her contract, as far as we know, should be up at the beginning of this next year, but I don't think she's going to go anywhere. And we've been saying this for a while. They'll probably extend her contract for another year or two, and it doesn't even matter if she is gone. She's still going to be attached to a bunch of things. Her name's still going to be on a bunch of things. She's part of Indiana Jones no matter what. She's setting up this bones and blood thing, or whatever the hell it's called, the Children of Blood and Bones or whatever. So she's setting herself up there for something. She's Amy Pascaling herself into Lucasfilm. So no matter what happens, she will always be a part of this. And I mean, that may have even been one of the original reasons why George went this route, is because he knew she was going to be a major voice no matter what, in like Indiana Jones, perhaps. But again, to me, I feel like, yes, you can point out the obvious all day long. She's going to still be there, but we just have to make sure they hear us when they do something right. And the more things they do right that make her look bad, well, hey, I think Andre's video was on point last week. Even though she does get, because that's how it goes. If you're the captain and the ship's running badly, you get blamed, right? That's what we've been doing for 5 years now. 3 years now, whatever. And if things are going well, no matter who's the one who's responsible for it, the captain gets to, get all the praise and the benefit of that. That's what happens. That's how it is, Shit rolls downhill, but it also rolls back uphill. I mean, or strike that and reverse it, but you know what I mean.
Well, the door swings both ways, right?
Exactly.
And
yeah.
So far, it's not going to hit her butt on the way out, because she's not going anywhere.
No, but the thing is she may be getting all the praise for the Mandalorian right now, but I think Andre made the point is everything that she or anybody else is getting praise for the Mandalorian is a big fuck you to everything in the last 3 years.
Exactly. That's like the thing that it is my understanding that it was Bob Iger that brought in Marvel guy Jon Favreau specifically to clean up Kathleen Kennedy's mess. And now when he has, it's a sad irony that as the head of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy gets praise because Jon Favreau cleaned up her mess when she didn't even hire him to do it.
It is bullshit. But I have one question for the guys that are saying, as the leader, she should be getting the blame for the failures because she's the leader. And my question is, why do you hate strong women?
Especially Danny.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah, because there's like the thing though that things that didn't work, they were actually her fault because she was the one that mandated they be so.
Hey,
whereas on
problematic.
Whereas on the Mandalorian, she was there. She could see what it was. She could give some some notes here and there, but on the whole, it's Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni that's responsible for everything good. And all they did with her notes was to try to incorporate and make it workable whenever she demanded some bullcrap be put in there.
I don't think she had any demand on anything. I'll be 100% honest with you. I know some people like to think she did, but I really don't think she did. I think she's had very little to nothing to do with The Mandalorian season 1 and 2.
What she does not deserve, though, is any kind of praise in any shape or form whatsoever for that show. Because the success of The Mandalorian had nothing to do with her.
You want to know a scenario, and this is me speculating? This is the scenario I think went down. Because after our video, somebody pointed out a few things to me, and I did a little more research. I think what happened was she was going to go full bore with the Boba Fett movie because they originally had Josh Trank and they fired him. Then she brought on James Mangold, and even though he denies he was ever attached to it, I think he was. But I think what happened was Bob said, no, we're going to do what Jon Favreau wants to do. He's got this Mandalorian idea. And Bob's like, yeah, if you can incorporate any of this Boba Fett stuff into The Mandalorian, that'd be great, John. But no, we're going to go with this. So Kathy's like, fine, fuck you then. And she gave James Mangold Indiana Jones because she knew Spielberg wasn't coming back. Because, these things go, like, we hear about them, but they were decided months ago usually. Very rarely do we hear something in the news that happens, like, right now. Only this pandemic is the first time I'd say we've ever had, like, an immediacy in the entertainment news. And I know Andre knows what I'm saying, because usually these things have to go through channels, they get suppressed, and then eventually by the time they get leaked, it's like the whole Kathleen Kennedy thing. Her contract was probably renewed, and as far as we know, it was renewed way back right after The Last Jedi came out, and it just was leaked to the press in September, months way after the fact, just to be like a fuck you to guys like us.
Yeah. And not even by Disney, but by her camp. Because if Disney wanted to give that fuck you, they would have done an official announcement.
Exactly.
And they never did.
It's a weird thing that the going forward, like, that was her plan. It was the only people that care about the old stuff are 50-year-old men, and we've got to get
that.
Yeah, and we've got to get the young audience, and they want new characters. They don't want what their dads are watching. They want new stuff, and they were so wrong. I mean, and the weird thing is they keep doubling down on their wrongness, and Favreau just came in because he did it with Iron Man. He did it with Iron Man, where he's like, guess what? The guys who were reading this book in the 60s and early 70s, their kids never heard of Iron Man. Now they're watching this movies together because you can appeal to both audiences. So Favreau came in with Mandalorian and did the exact same thing he did with Iron Man, which was get the dad and then kids who never heard of a Mandalorian totally into this show. It can be done. Small-minded people think it can't be done. They're like, no, we have to just wipe the board clean and start over. And even after Favreau did it at Marvel with Iron Man, with Captain America, with these characters that go back to the 40s, 50s, 60s, and still making them fresh to teenagers and young kids today. Even after he did that, they're still in Marvel Comics going the same way that Kathleen Kennedy thinks is, let's wipe out the old. No one wants them. Let's give them Miss Marvel. Let's give them all these new characters. Let's give them Snowflake and Safe Place. Let's give them all this other fucking garbage that is just soundly rejected, because it is possible to reach, the 50-year-old nostalgia guys and their kids at the same time. If you're smart and talented like Favreau and others, it can be done. It's just that the people in charge are not smart and are not talented.
No, they're actually stuck in the past, because what you're describing is the marketing to the children of baby boomers, where the parents were so enthralled with their kids that they would buy anything that those kids begged them for, and it didn't matter that you had to sell to the parents, you had to sell to the kids. And now they're trying to do that same model again, forgetting that those kids that begged for that stuff back in the day are now the adults with the money.
Yeah.
Right.
For the grandparents in this case because of the age. But no, I think you're right. I think you're both dead on. And I think they forgot that. I think they forgot all about brand loyalty and longevity, and the fact that, parents didn't have a problem with their kids watching Mickey Mouse. Why? Yeah, because I watched Mickey Mouse when I was a kid. That's why. And then you go to the next generation, same damn thing. Down the line, same thing with Superman, same thing, and then Star Wars was introduced in our generation. And that's the thing is, and I seen it with my kid. It was like, yeah, I got no issue with my kid watching Back to the Future. Why? Because I've seen it. I know it. It's a brand. It's a franchise I trust. I know it's family friendly enough, what have you. Same thing with a lot of the earlier Simpsons and stuff like that, and Looney Tunes and whatnot. I knew what he was watching. I knew what he was getting into until they started changing the brand. I noticed, and the big difference is when at the time I was dating someone, she had a younger kid, that Man of Steel came out and we took him to the theater. He got scared and wanted to leave. It's like, okay, this kid should be able to go see a Superman movie. Right. Okay. That's the thing is I went into that trusting the brand that was selling me a Superman movie. And again, I'm not speaking to anybody who liked the movie. I'm talking about the whole fact of I went in to trust Warner Brothers / DC to, I get it. It was PG-13. I knew, but so has every other Batman and, Spider-Man movie up to this point. So again, I knew it wasn't going to be the Christopher Reeve Superman, but I did expect at least a Superman movie to where a kid could go in and this be a Superman movie. And it wasn't. And that's kind of an allegory for everything we're getting out of Hollywood now is parents should be able to go in and trust that they're seeing Star Wars with their kids, and they're not. It's not something we feel comfortable passing down to the next generation. And I think that's really what you guys are hitting on, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, it's also short-sighted to write off the 40 and 50-year-old market. It's like these guys, like you said, they have money and will spend. Watch Az and Robert Meyer Burnett with their statues when they do that show. These guys will shit out hundreds of dollars on any little trinket, and they'll be doing this into their 70s. So to write off a 45-year-old now, that's 30 years of buying when they have just to write them off. Well, let's go for the teens now. It's so short-sighted. Why not go?
What they don't get is that like the 50-year-olds that buy stuff like that now, that's the first generation of kids that really started picking up all the merchandise that was brought on by the original Star Wars. They never stopped. And that's the same with every other subsequent generation. It's not that you hit a certain age and then you just stop.
Right.
No, maybe you don't go to theaters as much, but your interests, they'll never change. This was actually like one of the greatest points that was made in the movie The Secret in Their Eyes. It's from some Latin American country. I don't remember which one. Sorry, won an Oscar for Best Foreign Film. Great movie. But anyway, that was even like the point there, that a man, he can change his family, he can change his wife, he can get new kids, but he can never change his passion. So once a geek that buys into all kinds of merchandise and collectibles, that'll never stop. That's with you forever. And that's what they kind of like fail to realize. And that's also something that's passed down. So it's not like, oh, my dad likes this, so on the contrary, I'm not going to like it because my dad likes it. I want the thing that he likes, but I want a new version of it. It's not like that.
Says
like,
no one.
Yeah, exactly. But like if you look at like the most emotional reaction videos that are right now on YouTube, by the way, that's quite a rabbit hole. I tell you what. But yeah, the most emotional ones are the ones where you have like the parents and their kids, the ones that have brought their kids into it, and they share that experience together.
I wonder if it's the introduction of like almost feminine thinking, because it is for men. It is. It's like if you watched football or baseball with your father, you continue to do that. If you watched Star Wars with your father, he watched it, you watch it. Star Trek, whatever. But I wonder if women, they don't want to do what their mother did, and now that they're in charge of studios and stuff, they're like, kids don't want to do what their parents did. Not totally ignoring that men are different. They actually do pass down those hobbies and interests. But maybe women have like a different thing, like I don't want to turn into my mother. So
that is a good point.
That might be a good point, but also remember,
that is a very good point,
very valid point. But I think it even goes beyond that, Cecil. I think it's more about the breakdown of it's this idealism and Marxism or whatever you want to call it, that they're trying to break down the actual family dynamic. big
Well,
time.
remember in 2008 when J.J. Abrams got Star Trek and dropped his first trailer, and it was started with "This isn't your father's Star Trek." It's like that's antithetical to what kept the brand alive, and we're now seeing the
Exactly,
same thing.
yeah.
Like through The Force Awakens, that's not our Star Wars. That's not our father's Star Wars. It's a very poor copy, and then the rest of the movies go in a terrible direction. But yeah, it's very
You're
much
treating
saying
it like a car commercial, though. This is not
Yeah.
a fucking car. This is
yeah, exactly. This isn't the Futara we're talking about selling here. Like
You know, it's one thing to say this
Yeah,
isn't
it's
your
baffling.
father's Ford. That sells a car, but that doesn't sell Star Wars. It's like this isn't your father's Star Wars. It's like,
cars aren't designed to last for generations. Movies are. Ideally,
exactly.
and stories
Thank
are.
you. That's my point. It's like they're adopting this idea that they can just keep remarketing, repackaging, push it out there, just like it's. And we get on this all the time, back and forth on it. But no, I think you guys are dead on with that, and I think Cecil, you bring up a very valid point with how women generally are like that. They're like, I don't want to be my mother. You know, you don't hear that so often with a guy saying, well, I don't want to be like my dad unless their dad.
On the contrary, you have
Yeah.
like many guys saying, I want to grow up to be my dad.
Yeah, because
That's a key
especially
difference.
they look up to them. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a
And,
weird dynamic, right? The fact that we want to be like our fathers, but not like our mothers, and
It's
like,
not
what
so
are the
much-
dads doing that the mothers aren't? I mean, like it's just a rhetorical question. What are the dads able to do with their kids that the mothers aren't to have that type of role model aspect?
Well, and I think a lot of it might.
introduce them to Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
that
See, dads usually mean fun. Like, let's look at it. Let's be real here. Moms
And
usually
discipline,
mean
too.
business, and yeah,
I think it probably has to do with women fear aging more than men.
that too.
So they turning into their mom is also a sign of them getting old. Where guys don't worry about that. They revere older men. They don't
Absolutely.
mind.
That's another big point, Cecil, and that's another reason why I think women like KK are doing this, and why they and why a lot of the Hollywood group think is they're trying to adopt this, and they always have. It's nothing new. They've always tried to adopt whatever the younger group is thinking, but they're not even looking at it like, okay, we've got the first time in history, and I hate saying this generation is fucking clueless. Okay, they have no fucking clue what they're doing. And I've said this to my own son, and I've seen it firsthand because he's part of this generation. And at least I can say with my kid, he's smart enough to see some of the stupidity out there. But at the same time, it's like I see these kids, and it's like you guys are supposed to be the smartest generation ever. You have literally every single answer in your hand at any given moment. Yet I've never seen you guys be so fucking stupid. And Andre, you pointed it out. It's because they don't have to retain anything.
Exactly. That's like the thing. You don't have to. You have all the information, and because of that, you don't have to learn to think.
And that goes right back around to these franchises. What is so? Why do they want to get rid of the past? Because then it's so easy for this newer generation to come in and not have to retain anything. They don't have to do any homework. They don't have to be a part of anything. They don't have to go back and do any research. You don't have to have an entry level with a father or an older brother or sibling or whatever to get you into it, or sister, what have you. You know, because that's another thing they always keep overlooking is that women are fans. If anything, Star Wars has a bigger female fan base probably than Star Trek. I'm willing to bet. Look at Anna's a prime example. You know, I mean, look at most of the women in the Phantom Menace. They're here because they're fans of Star Wars.
Also, Anna is. If you talk to how did she get in? She got into Star Trek because she would watch it with her dad.
Exactly. Yes, and that's another thing too. No, I think you brought up a very, very valid point there, Cecil.
And how it was accidental, I assure you.
I know, I'm sure it was.
Yeah,
but
also,
we'll
script. You also brought up a great point. You said that you said that that the car wasn't built to be passed on, and no, that's true. But the only car that you could pass on, that has the endurance to pass on, is your dad's car.
Oh yeah, like the one that they worked on all the time. That despite all the problems it has, he kept on getting other parts and stuff to keep it alive.
It's gonna need some maintenance, but that's gonna freaking last.
Well, even a better yet analogy, because I mean, I brought up the car part, and that's what I was saying. They're selling it like it's a car, because that's the old, car adage is like, this is not your father's Ford, And that's the thing is, no, wait a minute here. Something that gets handed down to you from your father is generally something that they got from their father, and they got from their father, and they never altered it. They never changed it. That's what makes it special. Is that it's whether it's like a pocket knife, a watch, something that, that's generally, something that's given down, from a father to a son generationally, right?
Yeah.
Some kind of symbol of manhood, some kind of symbol of heroicism. It generally has some kind of story attached to it, even a medal of honor, perhaps, if you're, we're somebody.
I have a camera, a Brownie Reflex Synchro model camera that's got to be from like the 1930s. That's gone now. I'm the third generation to own this, and it still works.
If you want a scene that illustrates what Tom is really trying to say is if you watch Pulp Fiction with Christopher Walken hands a young Bruce Willis that watch, I kept this uncomfortable hunk of metal up my ass for 3 years so that you can.
Now I'm giving it to you.
Or you could take something a bit more literal and Obi-Wan handing Luke his father's lightsaber.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. It's in the first film. The symbolism of that is in the first film, and they failed to do that in The Last Jedi. They failed to do it. Luke was supposed to be that person. He was supposed to be the Ben this time around. He was supposed to hand, even though he was the one being handed the lightsaber again, he literally should have handed it right back to her and said, no, this is yours now.
I made my own.
Yeah, not just that, but it's just the whole point of now you're the student and I'm the teacher kind of thing. That symbolism of it. You may not be my daughter, or maybe you are. At that point, we didn't know. The door was still open, and that's the thing, was Ryan closed so many doors, and I think that's kind of a place to close this whole thing on Star Wars. Is like, yeah, there's been a lot of doors closed. Hopefully, the Mandalorian and Luke Skywalker open up the doors again. I think that's what a lot of us hope for, but we're cautiously pessimistic at this point. I think for the most part. I can speak for us.
We shall see. We shall see what happens. Now, before we then get back to the next topic at hand, we have some more chip chat. I'm gonna go to the most recent one,
okay,
one of the most recent ones first, because it was most on topic, Tom. From Diego Flores, who says, I can say from experience, I inherited my dad's love of sci-fi and toy soldiers. That I collect Warhammer 40k combines both, and was something I wish he could have experienced before he died. Now it is something I want my kids to inherit.
There you go.
Yeah, I thought that was poignant. Yes, and with that, let's get back to the older one. Master Clockwork says, Birds of Prey, GameSpot's movie of the year.
Not only that, Gail Simone was out fucking simping for this movie again this week.
GameSpot? What is that?
Who gives a fuck about what GameSpot thinks is the best movie of the year?
Wow.
Well, okay, I will say this, that GameSpot was not on my radar before. Now they are on my radar of things to avoid and dismiss everything that comes out of them. How about that?
Did you see Birds of Prey yet, Cecil?
No, I don't.
I know you wouldn't waste your time, probably.
You should see our review with the great Lauren Chen, who came to join us for it. So yeah, that was a real doozy.
I haven't seen it. I'm waiting to see who Blockbuster picks as the movie of the year. And
the Blockbuster Awards are still going.
Yeah,
those are probably more worth more in the eyes of the public than the fucking Oscars. But yeah,
I got an idea. Let's get Margot Robbie play a sex pot character and put as much clothes on her as possible. As far as I'm concerned, her booty shorts from the first one should have won the Oscar that year. The pulling out the sex appeal of her character is absolutely ridiculous.
It's stupid.
She's a mob mall, basically. She's a sex bomb. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, and I think you're, and that's like this whole thing with the new modern feminist movement trying to adopt her as some kind of icon, when it's like, you guys do not understand her at all.
She's a tragic character.
Exactly. She's not somebody to be heralded or held up as some kind of example of, strong femininity in the least. She's a fucking, she's a victim.
She's a tragedy. I mean, I remember the controversy when the fictional character of Wonder Woman was made a UN ambassador, and then people got up in arms about that. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with her? She's a kid that grew up, left her home, and became formidable in her own path among the world. Like, that's inspirational, but people didn't like it because she wore a bustier.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Eric K. Joseph sends Canadian $10. Thank you so much. I think the point about women not wanting to be like their moms is more about previous generations were homemakers. Today's women are expected to be career oriented and compete with men. That's another aspect as well. Beyond the aging and just the whole settling for what my mom settled for, or, there's a million things that I'm sure go into that on top of the age thing, like
dedicating between 16 and 20 years of your life to your kids. That type
women are being taught to reject the past, where men are still being taught to embrace it and honor it. That's
well, to a point, and that's where I was saying like the Hollywood elite and all that crap are really kind of embracing this new kind of movement, and I think you guys are dead on with that, and that's a big part of it, is that they're trying to get this whole idea that women can do it. Well, we know women can do stuff now. We know this. We've always known this. We've known this for a long time. He says, I don't know why they think they're the first ones to discover this business, but I think that's a pretty good segue into this story, because now that the Senate has passed its massive COVID deal, Hollywood is getting bailed out. And I feel
along with everyone else, I might add, apart from the people.
Including a bunch of gender studies crap and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the political side. Like, this is a fucking rabbit hole of political bullshit. What we're going to concentrate on is the Hollywood aspect of this.
Yes.
And what I think now is that they've gotten bailed out. Everything that we hate about Hollywood is just going to get worse.
Yeah, it's going to go on for a few more years at least.
Consequence-free environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would say that I don't want to get into politics and stuff, but everyone remember how all of Hollywood, even some actors and everything, went all in behind one candidate, right? They didn't do that because they thought that was going to benefit the country. It's certainly not you, the people, but they did it because of this. Because this is going to give them a bailout from someone that has a history of giving bailouts to people that absolutely should not be getting bailouts. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, Hollywood's completely out of touch with it's self-interest only. I don't know if it's as big a story outside of New York, but there's the kid on Saturday Night Live is going business as usual, and it's like, how are they doing live shows with studio audiences while New York is shut down? And even on one segment, one of the kids that's from Staten Island was making fun of the restaurant owners that were protesting, and he's sitting there in a live studio with no masks on, none of this, making fun of his hometown for begging for the right to work. Basically, they're so out of touch.
Oh, is that Colin Jost doing that?
No, it was Pete Davidson.
Oh, God.
And he's there sitting in a studio with a studio. So here's how they got a studio audience. They pay the studio audience $150 each, and that makes them temporary employees, so they get around the COVID restrictions.
Interesting.
So
they literally have to pay their audience, pay people to come watch their show,
so they can have a live audience. And so they have all these rules that they don't have to adhere to, and they're literally making fun of the neighborhood he came out of, like mocking them. And I was just like, if there was ever a time that was so out of touch, yeah, of course, you're absolutely right, Andre. They're voting for the guy who's going to save their industry and put money in their pocket. That's it.
No, I got to address something, because like a lot of people in the chat are saying Trump vetoed this. He hasn't yet. It could happen. I'm trying to keep as up to date as I can with it. All we know right now is that he talked out against it. He hasn't stopped it yet. If he does, it could shut everything down. And I don't want to get into the whole politics part of it, but stuff could happen still with this. But as of right now, he has not stopped it yet, or at least it's still on the table. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's and if he does veto it, which he could, because really anyone with half a brain should, then it's going to get pushed back. until the one everyone supported for this very reason, until he's fully in power, and then it's going to be a bill that's 10 times worse, and that's going to get signed right off the bat.
And again, I mean, here's the thing is, and I don't want to get into the politics side of this, but I can see the two angles of this. If he vetoes this, they could use that against him and make him look like a bad guy. If he doesn't veto it, then there's all this money that's going to go into all these other things instead of the American people. And you actually had Pelosi come out and say, yeah, finally you're agreeing with us that the American people need $2,000. But Pelosi's leaving out the other part of it where it's like, yeah, because you dumb shits went and put a bunch of other shit in here that shouldn't be in here, including this and other shit. Like
the bill is 5,000 pages long. Can you believe that? 5,000 pages.
And imagine the amount of loopholes that are in those 5,000 pages.
That's the problem, is beyond the Hollywood thing, which is at least tangentially connected to this, because at least it's COVID related. There's a bunch of crap in here that has nothing to do with COVID, right?
The majority of it has nothing to do with the majority. It's like, again, I cannot claim to have read the 5,000 pages, but at cursory glance of some of the findings, it's like 90% is about funding things that absolutely should not be funded. 5% is bailing out the people, and 5% is other COVID measures. So it's like almost nothing has anything to do with what this should be. And part of the stuff that really doesn't need a bailout is the showbiz thing, because all of these things that are in the bailout thing right here is so that the stuff that we don't want to see continue will continue. And yeah, you can say that there's a bailout for the theaters in there. However, my reading of it is that it's actually not so much for the theaters. It is to uphold the current system so that the ones that you really fund and the one that you really bail out are all the people that are reliant on those massive, massive budgets. So it's still ultimately about propping up a system that so far hasn't really been working out over the last few years, and
before
to ensure that continues.
In the chat over politics, this bill is put together by both the Republicans and Democrats. Okay, so let's just be clear on that.
It's more like a budget proposal than a bill, really. I mean, the density and what it's addressing, that's like a federal budget.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though: it's not been put over by like the whole of Congress, by everyone. It's put together by some very, very few select people from both parties, and no one else in either party have been involved with it. So this is not really so much a partisan issue, because neither party has been that involved with it.
No, but
that's another scary aspect of it.
Yeah, here's the other thing, though. Is like Moot Point brings up. Here's one of the most outlandish things in the bill is $10 million for Pakistani gender studies. Okay, $10 million could pay for what 10,000 families fucking rent for a year, if not more than that. If my math is correct.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, how many people in New York? It's 1/3 of small businesses have gone out of business, and then you got to sit there and read $10 million going to gender studies in Pakistan, and
that
sounds like a money laundering.
That's I would. Yeah, well, kind of, but I would love to hear if we have any Pakistanis in the chat how excited they are that $10 million is going to be spent on gender studies in Pakistan, because Pakistan could absolutely use $10 million. I'm not disputing that.
Right, but
they have far more pressing things to use $10 million on than gender studies.
That's my point, is like, what in the fuck is going on here? And again, getting back to the Hollywood part, they don't need it. That this is just a bunch of corporate fucking welfare.
Oh, there's a good one from Galvatron. I'm from Islamabad, and I didn't know there were 76 genders until now. Thanks, U.S. taxpayers.
More genders than fucking Baskin Robbins has goddamn
and letters in the alphabet. Yeah,
and letters in the alphabet. What the fuck?
Oh yeah, it's
is shark a gender? I mean, turtle.
You know what? There's a list of all of those genders, and if you want to like if you want to like feel like true Monty Python level surrealism, I suggest you go read them and their descriptions.
No.
But yeah, I agree with you, Andre. Hollywood does not need a bailout. They have enough relationships with the banks that they can survive most anything.
Exactly, and the parts of Hollywood that will go under, like for instance theaters. You know what? I'm going to say it straight out. Let them die. Let AMC and all of those collapse, and let someone else pick up the pieces and restart new chains when there is a market for it.
Yeah, and this money needs to be injected into the economy, into the people, into the smaller businesses.
Yeah, and also like when you prop up the theaters, like if you look at who is the ones who ultimately owns the for instance AMC. You're handing money straight to the CCP. Well, you're giving the funding to them.
Thing I said the other day, I don't remember if it was on here or if it was on Friday Night Tights or what it was, but that was the whole thing I said is like, you know what's stupid about this whole bailout on Hollywood? Fuck Hollywood, give it to the people. If we give a bailout to the people, then they can afford to actually do things like, you know, buy movies and go to the theater and maybe actually afford to have Disney fucking Plus. Like, is that the whole thing? Is like, okay, fine, Hollywood's going to get bailed out. What good's that going to do you when nobody can afford to have the fucking HBO Max or Disney Plus anyway?
Yeah, no, but they can afford to put like more propaganda.
Exactly, and that's why I keep stressing to people is it's not about money to them. They don't give a shit about money. This whole thing is manufactured, and you know, maybe we touched on a little bit more than we ever had before with Cecil bringing up the whole thing with, you know, how women are injecting this into the whole thing, and I think he's got a point there, and I think that kind of matches right up with the whole breakdown of the, you know, the family unit and how it is now, and how they want to destroy that idealism of you know, the idea of just having, you know, some people just want to live a classic family life. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Why is that such a bad thing? Nobody's saying you can't live the life way you want to live it, but what's wrong with, you know, a wife, a kid or two, and a dog and a white picket fence? Why is that such a bad thing? And that's what they're fighting against here. And I think, you know, Cecil's right, is a lot of that I think comes from the feminist, you know, propaganda side of this, where they're trying to destroy the whole idea of, you know, women in the family model.
I think there's more to it than that, but
oh yeah, it goes much deeper, and we don't need to get into it. But no, again, and this whole fucking bailout, that's all it's going to do. That's all it's going to do. We're going to get more Birds of Prey. We're going to get more fucking Terminator Dark Fates. It's not over, folks.
Yeah. And was Anna in the panel? I saw
she
her.
Probably was. She said she was going to.
Oh yeah, there she is. There she is. Well, we're happy to send you a link, Anna, if you want to weigh in against all of us toxic males.
Yeah. Do we want a stinky girl in here?
Always.
I know. I'm just kidding. Of course, I'm being belligerent. But no, I'm just pissed about this, and especially when you got guys like Gary, whose wife who lost a business in California, and all the stuff that goes around that. It just gets sickening. It really does. And I mean, I don't want to dwell on it too long because it's not a done deal, but it's pretty much a done deal. Because I know I told you about it yesterday, Andre, and you were like, "Oh fuck!" I'm like, "Yeah, it sounds like it's going to go through."
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because the road. But I sent you the link just the same. So, but if you since you can't, then thank you so much.
No, because like again, I come from the world of finance, and I remember the relief bill to the very institutions that caused the 2008 financial crash, because they were too big to fail, was the propaganda line that we were fed. No, they weren't, and it was a crime against humanity to bail them out. And this one is, in many ways, it's more infuriating, because that bill was just about like bailing out the people that caused the entire world to go broke, more or less, make sure that they got away scot-free, which was bad. But this one here has a propaganda component to it, which if anything is even worse. So yeah.
Yeah. But all right, we got Cecil here, so I want to talk about some more fun stuff. Yeah. Roof Karen sends us a $10 super chat, though. Thank you so much. Or Roof Korean, I am so sorry. I did not mean to call you a Karen. Love the Foster interview. Thank you, Midnight's Edge, for your contributions to fandom. Priceless, and you are preserving history for the franchises with your work. Ask Craig Zoller for next interview. Well, we'll see what we can do. But no, thank you so much. And again, we got to send shout out to PJ from Morville Nation for that, and all the other people that are doing this, because we're not the only ones. There's a lot of other people that are, helping Alan out right now, trying to get the word out there on what's going on. And the more we beat this drum, the more the word gets out there and the worse Disney looks. So there you go. That's the way to do it. And thank you so much for that. And Ian Slater, our good friend, sends in $5. The bill is an insult to all of us that broke our asses to keep this country going. Yeah, and he's a truck driver, so I know what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
It really is. I mean, it's so insulting. I don't know how people can, so many people have lost their businesses, and to just see this money
in their homes. Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be driving people insane right now. Just if they're
what they're doing
I hope it is
dangling the $600 in front of us, thinking we're not going to even pay attention to the rest of the shit. Is what they're doing.
You know what I'm thinking then? What the hell is $600? What kind of freaking difference is that going to make? Yeah, of course. Yeah, you're gonna. Okay, so fine. So you get $600 cash. Guess what? You're gonna have to pay those $600 back a million times over in tax for generations to come.
Exactly.
And that's what you get for that $600 plus some other welfare and stuff like that. But really.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish.
Yeah, no, but really, like the payout that you're going to get isn't worth the cost, because the true payout is going to everyone else that absolutely shouldn't be getting anything.
Yeah,
anything at all.
You're gonna have Nancy Pelosi so proud of herself for giving you the $600. Like, look what I did for you.
Now you can all go eat ice cream.
Yeah. And it's like she's gonna lord that over us, like like she saved us from a forklift or something.
Well, maybe I'll take that $600, or maybe we should all take that $600 and buy MGM Studios. Fuck it, let's get in on this race. What do y'all say? We'll turn MGM Studios into like the Packers of the Hollywood landscape. Fucking, it's fan owned. Fuck it. We could have RoboCop 362.
Oh yeah, you could actually just officially greenlight Neil Blomkamp's RoboCop if you wanted it.
Yeah, get Blomkamp in here. We're gonna do 12 RoboCops. Do it. Yeah, so up for sale, like we were joking in the intro. When is MGM not for sale? But they're actually actively seeking, which is funny. Can I do it? This is for all.
Go for it.
I fucking knew it.
Because we actually asked our source about this. Is the possibility of maybe Warner Brothers just buying MGM a possibility? Like, why would you buy the milk when you can just buy the whole cow, right? Like, why would they just buy Bond or No Time to Die when they could just buy the whole fucking studio and do what they've been doing? And that's going to lead into another story we got going on here. But I mean, again, this is like non-news, but it is the beginning of the end. It is. It really is. What do you know what I'm saying, Andre? I think probably more so when I say, like, this is it. This is the toppling of the Hollywood studios as we know it.
It is. It's absolutely a change in progress, and certainly for MGM. So it'll be interesting to see who picks them up and who gets the pleasure of releasing the hot potato that is. What's it called? At the end, No Time to Die. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah. I was about to say Die Another Day, but that was another one.
No. And Shark Dentures, just to touch on this real quick, because it had to do what we were just talking about. Didn't Out of Touch Pelosi say about 6 months ago that $1K to each household was a joke? Now she's crowing about giving us $600. What a hack. Well, then she went out this morning and said, oh, it's about time Trump comes around and we're all on board with the $2,000. So it's like, it's all just whatever. It's politics, folks. It's
of course. Yeah, you're on board now after the election.
Yeah. But anyway,
blocking it before.
Honestly, as far as MGM goes, I figure they're going to get picked up by either Sony, which is the slim chance, The next chance in line would probably be Amazon, and that's a slimmer. But I think it's probably going to Apple pick them up, or honestly,
I think Apple is a good bet because that
I was
way
gonna say,
they'd get some infrastructure, they'd get some franchises. We know that they were sniffing at the Bond movie
No Time to
already,
Die,
but they balked at the price of it for
But
one movie.
HBO was
But
gonna
of
be
course,
my next
buying a
one.
whole studio, of course, that's a different deal.
Or
What about
Warner
Prime?
would be the next. Yeah. What was that?
What
Sorry.
about, Amazon Prime, Bezos could pick that up, and
Yeah.
he made that in the last. While we were just talking about this, he made $5 billion. So
Exactly. No, and you're not
He
wrong. And that's
probably
why
got the bailout too.
Yeah, and that's why I think they're on the list. But I think the top two contenders would probably be Warner Brothers and Apple, and for those two specific reasons, all to do with the streaming stuff, as Andre you were pointing out. Sorry.
well, I mean, Prime has Amazon has a streaming, so this would be a major.
Yeah, but then this would be the first time Amazon actually jumps into. I mean, they have their own studio, but like they would have something. And again, it's a very huge possibility, Cecil. I think. I mean, all of those players are possibilities. I could see them doing it definitely.
Of all the studios, who do you think would make James Bond less woke if it was to get picked up by either Apple, by Bezos, or by Warner Brothers? Who would
Warner.
Probably Warner Brothers.
would be the best for it?
I think they would want to make what the fans, because AT&T they don't give a shit about the politics. That's the one thing we have going for us at Warner right now. All they give a shit about is the bottom line. They're the ones that we're actually talking about where everybody goes, well, sooner or later, somebody's going to have to care about the money. Well, yeah, that's AT&T. They don't give a shit about politics.
Yeah.
That's why
I can tell you which of the traditional studios would have made it less woke, but they're probably going to soon have to be bought up by someone themselves. Millennium, or rather New Image, of which Millennium is one division, the company of Avi Lerner. They never made a great movie in their life, well, or a couple, but not many. But one thing they are not is woke. So as of right now, I'd actually rather see MGM be picked up by them. It's never going to happen because they don't have the funds for it. But that would be the best home, probably. What do you think, Script?
You're not wrong there. I mean, if they were able to gather the funds, they'd probably lean into all the tropes of Bond that made Bond. If they got their hands on the property, absolutely. Especially some of the other things that MGM has as well. But yeah, that would be. I'm starting to think like what other possibilities can come from that. So I'd say that's a pretty good idea.
It's funny that Mutant says this because I was just going to say if Lionsgate actually had the money, which they don't, that's the one place I could see where they would do it just to start to bolster themselves. Because I think they sold it, but didn't they have the Miramax, or do they still have all the Miramax movies script?
Yeah, I don't think that Lionsgate could make a good Bond because it's
that's the problem.
A mess between marketing and executives and stuff like that. There,
Lionsgate's been screwing up for.
I'm
10
talking
years.
about just bolstering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like that's the thing though. Outside of John Wick, Lionsgate ain't got shit.
I gotta look at the new Bond script if you guys want to hear some spoilers.
Sure.
He's charged with delivering $10 million to Pakistan for their gender studies. He's trying to deliver it, but there's a group of white nationalists that are trying to stop him. It's pretty good.
Yeah,
I'm on board. That sounds better than
time to buy.
No time to buy.
There you go. And Donkeysaurus Resk says, how about the Chinese or Indian studio?
Oh, a Bollywood studio. They would have a riot with Bond.
Oh yeah, I look forward to 4-hour-long Bond movie, of which 3 hours will be dancing. So
it'll be amazing dancing. That's the thing. It will be enrapturing.
The last thing I'd want to see is a foreign country getting their hands on MGM, which is like one of the last original studios. UK maybe. I wouldn't feel as bad just because they're so synonymous with Bond. But here's the other problem you have. They don't have the cat. I'd like to know how they think they're going to get this $5 billion because they don't really have the catalog they used to, because Turner owns everything pre 1960 or 1970 script outside of like a couple things.
They own a lot, yeah.
And that includes everything from and that was then soaked up in the Warner deal, and that's where Wizard of Oz and all that stuff is, and that's where I think if anything, Warner, they might as well just bring in the rest of the MGM package because they already own most of them, at least anything that's of value. Because also they have the Rocky franchise, but I think Stallone has a lot more say in that now than he used to.
Yeah, I mean he's pushing. He's over 75, I think. Now.
Well, not just that. There's this deal that was passed back in '70s where after 35 years, if you're a sole creator of something, you can go back and get your copyright. So, and I think he probably has done that, but he's just worked out a deal with MGM to where, they made the Creed movies and all that kind of stuff. So I really don't know what MGM owns as far as flat out, because they don't own Bill and Ted.
Nope.
They got RoboCop and Stargate. And I think that's it, because they don't even technically own Bond.
No, Eon still owns it, I think, right? Along with the
Broccoli? Them and the Broccolis all own MGM owns the distribution, but that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. This is not, that what was Lucasfilm was that was $4 billion deal. And
$4.05 billion deal, and with that you got all the Star Wars and all the Indiana Jones, and I dare say that should be worth more than, including the merchandising rights that go with that, because there's the merchandising rights that make everything. And even with that, Disney ain't still in the black with it. So I'm curious, who the hell is going to pony up $5 billion for MGM when half of the good stuff associated with them they don't even own?
And
it's gonna take a lot of time to make those $5 billion back again, because for many of the things that they do have, you don't have the merchandise, which is what made Lucasfilm worth $4.05 billion.
Exactly. I'm sure they don't get much of the Bond merchandise. RoboCop is probably one of and Rocky are probably two of their big things. And like I said, with Rocky, I'm sure they have to share a big chunk with Stallone. I don't know for sure on that. I'm just speculating, but
and even if they didn't, where's the Rocky merchandise? Like, how much money is that worth? How much money do the Rocky movies? Like, you're going to have to make a hell of a lot of Rocky movies to make.
They do have a bit of a merchandising base. It does. Don't get me wrong, but not like
but not $5 billion's worth of it.
Yeah, exactly. And even I'd be even willing to argue probably RoboCop might sell more merchandise in the end.
I don't know. I have a couple of the Paulie action figures.
I know you do. No, I know. Like I said, there is a base for it, to be in all seriousness, but not a $5 billion base. And yeah, they've got a little bit of a catalog, but not a full one. And not only that, they've got the first Terminator movie under their belt, but that's it. They don't have any of the rest. You know what I'm saying? They don't have a full-fledged catalog to begin with. And when people think of MGM, they think of things like Wizard of Oz and crap. Well, that ain't coming with, and all the classic, Golden Age MGM classics. Nope, those aren't going with. The Warner owns all those.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then you might wonder, what the hell do you actually get for those $5 billion?
I don't think it's worth $5 billion. I really don't.
That's kind of like what I'm getting at. I think that they've really inflated the price because here's the thing, they announced themselves for sale for $5 billion. They think that, you know what? We have decided that we are worth more than what Lucasfilm sold itself for, and we have decided that we are worth than what Marvel sold themselves for back in the day. We are worth $5 billion. Any takers? And the answer to that should be a resounding no.
Another one, 2001. I think Warner's has that one. Pretty freaking sure, because my Blu-ray is a Warner Brother Blu-ray. So I think they own everything up to 1970 in the MGM catalog, if I'm not mistaken.
And also, there's not a lot with catalog that's worth that much money anyway, because really there's not that much money in catalog. What's worth money are IPs that you can mine for future use. That's why Marvel was worth $4 billion. That's why Lucasfilm was worth $4.05 billion. Not just for the catalog, but for the future potential for earnings from that catalog. And again, as you point out, Tom, what the hell do MGM have of that?
They don't. They really don't. That's
Exactly.
the thing. And again, I said, like, a lot of it's incomplete. They own the Orion catalog and what MGM up to, I believe, 70. So they have the Pink Panther, I believe. So that's another franchise they do have. They've got Stargate, but none of these. And again, even Stargate, as big as Stargate is, it's not even near as big as like Star Trek. And I've even thought about, like, I've sat down, I'm like, are some of these franchises maybe worth more if they just piece them out? You know what I mean? Like, would they get more money if they just sold RoboCop to Marvel, or they sold, or to DC, or then they turn around and sold, Stargate to somebody else, Paramount or something, or for Sony.
They're literally doing a bundle, like cable bundle. Like, yeah, you have to buy all this shit to get to RoboCop and to get to Rocky, and
yeah.
I want to see
it. Does seem like that, yeah.
Maybe they've got like Tarzan, but that's.
And here's where I think Stallone comes in with the Rocky deal, because if I remember right, Sony's been in cahoots with the last few Rocky movies. So that's where that's why I brought up Sony before too. Maybe Sony will buy him up, because that goes into that article I also sent you earlier, Andre, where there's this rumor going around that all the talent is flocking to Sony right now. And I don't know if you got to read it, but the main reason is because they're the only studio right now that has the functionality to still do theatrical releases, and they don't have a streaming platform, so they're safer there. They feel that their movie's going to get a theatrical release.
I just want to see Terminator versus RoboCop. That was a DC a Dark Horse comic.
Yeah.
Did you ever read that? I really like that.
Yeah, I like it, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless, because Paramount, I think, has the license now for Terminator. But yeah, that's the problem, is you've got the first Terminator movie, but you don't have the rest. You don't have the actual license to it. That's the thing, is I don't think they have anything really that much to sell. And that's where I think you're right, Cecil. Like I was saying, like it's probably worth more to them at this point to just say, fuck it, for the company itself, sell the catalog off to somebody who wants it, and then piece out the licenses for RoboCop, Rocky, and Stargate and all that kind of shit, and they probably make more that way.
Yeah, people want to see like a lot more, like in Rocky 3 when Paulie had that robot.
It's 4, but yeah,
there should have been spin-offs from that. They should have had adventures. I could just do all the repaints of just put out the Paulie doll and then repaint it as Scuba Paulie, Space Paulie, Firefighter Paulie. Like it was just a waste. It worked
for Playmates and Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
But no, this was funny you mentioned that, Cecil, because Stallone's doing a director's cut of Rocky 4 right now, and he's cutting out the robot shit.
No.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what?
I swear to God, if somebody put out a thing just for like nostalgia of like a Paulie action figure, and then they did do repaints of him like in different ridiculous, it would probably fucking have a collector's market.
Scuba Paulie, yeah, with his robot. She loves me, But no, I we kind of drug this out a little bit longer than I wanted.
Robot versus RoboCop.
Yeah.
I will say though that would have made for a fantastic movie, because I know exactly to which comic you refer. And Dark Horse, they did some amazing Terminator, RoboCop, Alien, and Predator comics, and that's one of them. The one you're referring to was written by none other than Frank Miller, and he freaking nailed it. And you know what they should have done? Like, RoboCop versus Terminator should have been the third movie of both franchises, and we would have been good.
Fuck yeah. I mean, that was basically, for anybody who doesn't know the story, it was Skynet. They'd found out that, Skynet was based on the technology from RoboCop's program.
Yeah.
So when they send the T-800 back, it has to destroy RoboCop to stop Skynet from ever happening.
Right.
So it was really cool, and I just wish they would do fun stuff like that and make that happen.
Yeah, I was hoping for like a surge of that after Freddy versus Jason was a hit, but it just never really came. And even Alien versus Predator, but yeah, it just never really.
I thought Freddy versus Jason was good. I actually had a lot of fun with that. I didn't really care for the Alien versus Predator stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because and that's a frustrating thing, because the original comic, Alien versus Predator, also from Dark Horse,
That
was the
good.
same basic story, but the execution was a million times better. What destroyed it was when Tom Rothman decided that, you know what, yeah, we can use this comic, but it has to be set on Earth, and it has to be set today, and not like in space in the far distant future. Earth today. And that is where the movie went to hell in a handbasket. There was no salvage from that point.
Right. But I want to point this out because John Cooper, I think, is predicting the editorial I was going to propose to Andre with that article. They're not safer at Sony. Sony can sell the distribution rights to anyone. And yeah, that's what I think is behind
Exactly.
it. As much as they're flocking, they're forgetting that Sony could just as easily sell their movie to Amazon or Netflix.
Yep.
Not only could they as easily, they're going to, because here's like the thing. Yeah, Sony doesn't have its own distribution.
They do
platform,
have
and maybe
You got Crackle, Crunchyroll.
yeah, that's the same as not having anything.
Well, Nicholas Horton just said in a super chat here, the only streaming services that Sony own are Funimation and Crunchyroll and Crackle. Yes, you're correct.
Yeah. And basically the point is that so they flock to them because they think, oh, Sony are still going to make these $200 million blockbusters, and they're still going to give us these shitloads of money that we got before, because all of this pandemic stuff, that only happened to other studios. It didn't happen to Sony because they don't have a streaming service, and they're freaking dreaming because because Sony doesn't have any money to deal with anything like that. They're going to have to sell their stuff to Netflix or someone as well.
So you may have just got a preview of an editorial, just to let you know. And 200 Watt Studio says, won't you support monocles for Somalia, please?
Yeah, that's a Commonscape program. We've had a good year, so a lot of us want to give back. We tried to come up with something that would help the most amount of people, and we realized giving monocles to Somali children is probably the worst, the most worthwhile cause we could think of. It's giving out monocles and top hats to kids in Somalia. It teaches them to dress for the job you want, not dress for the job you have. And
exactly,
it's success.
I believe in it. That's why I've donated 300,000 Bitcoin to it already.
Thank you.
That's right.
That's a very worthwhile cause right there. Yeah.
And bouncing off of what Andre was saying and all that, Dune now is reportedly possibly going to go to theaters after all. And I think there's a reason behind this. And I don't think you've had a chance to check this out, Andre, but I know you've been kind of talking about this the last few days. I think this is one of the few moves Warner's going to make just to avoid any kind of litigation. What do you think? And then I want to hear what Cecil and Script think on this whole thing. You still there? Did we lose Andre?
No, I'm still here. I just wanted to. I was waiting for them to talk. No, as for me,
I want to hear you first because you were kind of.
Sorry. No, basically, I think this is all about the threat from litigation from Legendary. I don't think it's about the threat from litigation itself, because I do think that Warner probably can do what they want as a distributor. But what I think might have happened here is that that Legendary might have said, you know what, okay, fine, you can put it on HBO Max, but if you do, we're going to take all our movies and all our properties and all our Dune sequels and what have you not, and we're going to go to your competitor. I think that that's just like my gut feeling, that something like that must be going on. And for that, they say, okay, fine, you want to play hardball? Fine. You know what, we'll put it in theaters so it can flop there, and then we'll put it into HBO Max.
You won't get anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's kind of like what I'm thinking, that there's some hardball going on there, and I do not think that this is something that necessarily is going to happen. To me, this looks like a leak from Legendary. That's what it looks like to me.
And I got to correct myself. Yeah, John Cooper, you are right. Crackle did sell out to Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. I forgot about that. Yep,
that was over the summer, wasn't it?
Yeah. You are right. I forgot about that. Sorry. Anyway, continue, guys.
Yeah, so no, really, that's it. I think that this is a leak that comes from Legendary, and I absolutely do believe that there's hardballing going on behind the scenes, but I still don't know how that's going to work out in the end. That's my thought, and that's just like my instant hot take gut reaction, and I could be completely wrong. Script Doctor, am I completely wrong?
I don't know. I can see Legendary doing a strong arm like that, saying, "Hey, you want to do this day and date? Then guess what? Anything future we do, we're not going to go through you for distribution." I can see them pulling that.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure if that's the case here. I'm curious of how this will develop. I kind of suspected that they would eventually, based on how I guess the first quarter of next year would perform, they'd probably go back to the negotiating table and say, yeah, if theaters look like they're going to be open, if things look like they're going to return back to a normal routine, then yeah, we can walk back and still do a theatrical release and push off the HBO Max streaming for this one event film. But yeah, this is a new turn.
Yeah. Cecil?
Yeah, I think they could just be like, all right, fuck you, we're going to release it in 2 theaters. No one's going to watch it. And then we could put, I mean, the deal was it had to be released in theaters first, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. They want because it was going to be released in theaters anyway, but day and date on HBO Max with theaters. Whereas Legendary, they want a wide theatrical release, and then they want a theatrical window of like at least 3 months or something before it shows up on HBO Max. So that's kind of like what this is about. That they don't want that day and date release. And I think that they're playing hardball to get it, but I think like stimulus package or no stimulus package, I don't know that there's even going to be people wanting to go back to theaters this year, whether there's a vaccine or not. Well, of course, we know there's a vaccine, but whether the vaccine is widely distributed in time or not, I don't know that people are going to want to go to theaters for all of next year.
This have changed so many people's thinking. It only takes like 30 days to break a habit. Now we're, 7 months into this, where, there's video of people hiking like on the Appalachian Trail and somebody screaming, hey, you don't have a mask on. It's like they're literally in the middle of the fucking wilderness. And somebody starts yelling at another hiker it's like, it's the mindset of packed theaters may take years to get back. It's just the psychology of the people has changed. It's I don't know if people are going to be quick to run back to theaters. It may take a while for this to wear off psychologically.
No, I think that's a big part of it. I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't want that. I mean, we'll see what the first indicator will be the theme parks. But the parks are open in Florida and they're empty. You can go, but they're empty. So
not many people have the money to go now. That's the other part too, right? They're not working.
Right, and that's what I was saying before. It's like, what difference does it make if Hollywood's going to get bailed out if nobody has any money for these streaming services or, to buy any movies anyway or to go see any movies or do anything like that? So,
well, the streaming services is the cheaper alternative for people. I think a lot of people would not be rushing out to theaters just because they couldn't afford it anyway. But if you buy the package of HBO Max and you're going to get all these movies, it is the better bargain. I don't know. Dune they should maybe wasn't there a TV series that was supposed to be tied to it?
Yeah, that's coming too. That's the Sisterhood of Dune.
So maybe they could renegotiate stuff with that to make up for it. But I think if they're gonna like stand their ground on theater distribution, I think this year and possibly even for the next 2 years, that's a losing fucking. You may win that battle, but you'll be a loser for winning. So I don't think there's a good argument for them. I think if they could get a better deal on a TV series or get a higher percent of the cut or just something, they're better off fighting a different way, because I just don't see theaters being that big a profit maker for the next year or so. So
According to culture, the theme parks are not empty, but half of them are shut down anyway. So,
they're not empty. I don't know.
Are they as densely packed as the normal season?
Yeah, I don't know about that though. I'd have to check out park hopping and stuff and see what those guys say.
Yeah, I've seen some video. I mean, there's people there, but I'm being a little bit, it's a little bit of hyperbolic, but it's
not nearly the normal.
Not completely empty, but when you considering it was like, it used to be just crowds and crowds. There's a small fraction of the audience there. Yeah.
And then Action Com says, "What will happen to the projectionists?" You know what? Most theaters don't even have them anymore.
Yeah, exactly. They were fired a long time ago.
Yeah, most projectionists are really expensive to hire. I know that from some repertory theaters in California. They bring in different ones each day based on and have to negotiate their rates. And that was before the lockdown. They're expensive to operate projectionists.
Yeah, but nowadays everything's digital, so it don't matter. You're only talking about places that actually have literal.
They actually have the old cameras and the projectors. Yeah.
And that handful of guys, I'm sure they will be in the position to negotiate very good salaries going forward. Whereas everyone else, they'll have to learn to code.
Yeah.
So
200 Watt Studio says Crackle owns restaurants now. Crackle Barrel. Hey, Crackle Barrel is pretty good. Cracker Barrel is anyway. The 70s rock fan sends in another super chat. Thank you much. Says next Bond, No Time to Diet, starring Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
I think Cecil should be the love interest in that.
That was the movie she got to make instead of Barbie.
Oh, did you see that's going a little bit farther forward? I pointed out that's sad. We're living in a world now where we'll get a Barbie movie before we get a He-Man movie.
Is that where we're going? With her? Is that with Amy Schumer?
No, well, she was originally attached to it. Now they got Margot Robbie attached to it.
Yeah, she was the one that was attached to Barbie the whole time, actually. But then for a brief moment in time, then they decided that, you know what, it's going to be so much more empowering if Amy Schumer is Barbie.
I think once they started calling it Carby.
The message of the movie was that beauty comes from within.
Yeah. And I know, Anna, there are plenty of Barbie movies, but this is going to be a live action theatrical Barbie movie.
Yeah. We actually did a mini documentary about it when Amy Schumer was announced. It was quite funny. So everyone go check that out.
Versus He-Man movie at one point.
Yeah, that's entirely right.
Versus movie, Cecil. How about that? That sounds like something you'd make up. I want to hear your plot for that. Go. No.
What, He-Man versus Barbie?
Yes.
Yeah, Sony wanted to make that at one point.
Oh my God.
It's covered in the video I was talking about.
I'm kind of thinking of Ethan's project right now of Rainbow Brute, which is the
Rainbow Bright.
Which is the masculization of all of the 80s girls properties.
Right.
My mind's kind of going to that.
So it'd be like Barbie becomes like a space-time physicist and enters a portal that goes to Eternia, and she ends up working for Skeletor, not knowing the political climate of the planet. Maybe
he hires her, but every day she comes in dressed as a different job, and he's like, "What the fuck is wrong with this bitch?
What are you today? Yesterday you were an astronaut. Today you're a nurse.
Who hired this woman?
Now you're a hairdresser and you're going after Beastman for the whole day."
She to me, boss. Did you touch him in his no square?
Yeah, she's a vet that day, and she starts like taking care of Beastman.
It's funny, like in 30 seconds, you broke down a better both Barbie and He-Man movie than Sony has been able to do for both for a decade.
We have videos you're supposed to watch.
She's taking his temperature rectally.
Veterinarian Barbie.
Vet Barbie. Beastman on the table.
And then when she becomes like a sorceress, like Evelyn gets all jealous.
Oh shit. We just wrote a better movie than they could have.
Yeah, I totally see that movie. But yeah,
it can be anything.
Yeah, but let's get on with some of the super chats we have waiting. Michael Roth just said, "I went to see Tenet, and only 10 people were in the giant XD theater." Oh yeah, there's that. Of course, not the greatest movie though. And then going back a little bit, ActionCom said, "Where is the money in Hollywood these days?"
Streaming.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the future. Yeah.
Yeah. And John Cooper said, as we pointed out, they're not safer at Sony. Sony can sell distribution rights to anyone, and they'll have to. So yeah, we said that. And said, "Chat remembers, please hit that like button." Yes, indeed, please do. And Mihon said, for 20 Swedish krona, "Hello, YouTube just notified me just now. Watches from the start." See, that's what we're saying. So everyone, please mark it in your calendars. Midnight's Edge in the morning, 9 a.m. Wednesday, LA time, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Don't trust the notification.
And there's been
come after we're done.
There's been almost 1,200 of you guys watching this whole time, and we appreciate it. And thank you so much. And if you'd hit that like button, it means so much to us. Thank you.
And Shark Denture says, "Didn't Out of Touch Pelosi say about 6 months ago that 1,000 to each household?" Obviously, we got that one. Okay, yeah. But anyway, it was a joke.
Caught up, but yeah.
And now she's going to, what a hack. Yeah, indeed. But yeah. No, we missed a couple in here in between. Yeah. Darius Münchhausen said, "Has Disney been virtue signaling to compensate for getting into bed with China?" No, because they're still in that bed and they won't come out of it anytime soon. And Cedric Taylor 08 says, "What about Top Gun 2? Will it come out in 2021 spring, or will it go to pay-per-view or streaming?" What do you think about that?
Oh, that's a good question. How soon is Paramount Plus supposed to be ready, Script?
It's supposed to be, I think, supposed to be ready end of January.
They're probably going to launch it on there. They need a big. Yeah, I would guess. Right, that would make sense. Why sell
That's
it?
what I was thinking.
Tenet, people in the theater. Why risk it in the theater release when you could get a lot of subs that just want, they're going for those 45, 50-year-old guys' monies with Top Gun 2, so you might get a lot of signups.
Well, the speculation is that Paramount Plus is going to have the Paramount library on it as well, so you could do a Top Gun 1 and Top Gun 2 in the same day, theoretically.
Right.
But would Tom Cruise sign off on that?
That's Christian Garcia. I know he's somewhat joking, but yeah.
How will Tom react to that?
He would not probably be too happy. I don't know if he would sign. It depends on how much power he has over that. That's a good question.
Yeah, exactly. So
and Mills brings up an interesting point, though. Paramount has already sold quite a bit of their slate to Amazon, so that could be too. I'm going to lean more with what Cecil. That's what I was kind of leaning towards anyway. Was if Paramount Plus is ready, they'll use that to launch Paramount Plus with. If not, they may. If they can get a good payday from Amazon, they'd take it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They just want to make their money back, and they can't do that on Top Gun as it is right now. Again, they could do what AT&T has been doing. They could make it a lost leader and try to get back into the streaming race with Paramount Plus. Good luck with that. Since Amazon has all their good stuff anyway, as Mills pointed out. But yeah, we'll see. And again, I don't know that Tom Cruise would even want to sign off on anything other than a wide theatrical release, and he'd probably rather see the movie pushed back some more for that to happen.
It's a question of how his ego, if his business mind can mesh up with his ego, because his ego wants to see himself on a big screen, but his ego does not want to have the box office receipts of just garbage, which they will be. So he's got to have an excuse why, if he doesn't release it in theaters, at least he can avoid having those numbers, which are going to be shit. It's just going to be
Yeah, well, this is a guy who doesn't just care about his theatrical thing. He also cares about how his movies play at home. Because do you remember last year or not last year, maybe the year before, but I think it was last year where Tom Cruise and Macquarie came out and said, "Hey, make sure your TV settings are good for Mission Impossible 6 because some people are going to be upset with it because of the default settings." Like they did a whole special announcement of that. I mean, you never see an actor come out and say, "Hey, my movie's still good on home video. This is the reason why."
Well, and not just that. I think in his rant, I mean, I think he showed some true colors there, and I think he actually showed that, to me at least, that he's a little bit more aware of what the fuck is going on than probably a lot more of the Hollywood bubble. And again, I think he's going to weigh a lot. If he has a say in this, he'll weigh a lot of these options. And I think you all both are hitting on some very great points, especially for somebody like Tom Cruise. But I think he sees the bigger picture here. I think he knows that, you know, there's a very few of the individuals out there right now like himself that could make a movie like that and still be $200-300 million movie. And that's why he got so upset with the whole deal with Mission Impossible. And again, I don't have a straight answer on this. I think you both bring up great points. Like, yeah, there's one part of him I'm sure that would want it to be on the big screen, but he's also smart enough to see that that's not an option right now. That at least not one that's going to bring in the kind of money that is going to continue to, fund his movies. And it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Paramount Plus may sweeten the deal with him, and he may see it as a businessman, as a good way to further himself, because he's kind of Paramount's boy. I mean, 90% of his movies he does over there.
Yep.
So I mean, they may work some deal out to where he says, yeah, it's a good deal for him and it's a good deal for them to try and push Paramount Plus with Top Gun 2. And Paramount may be the home of the Tom Cruise movies and stuff, from here on out. They'll still give him the money to make the movies he wants, and they'll use him to sell Paramount Plus.
Do they have the rights to Mission Impossible, like as a TV series as well?
Yeah, CBS,
yes, they do.
And Paramount, yes, yep, both. Yeah. And oddly enough, that was one of the ones that was under that whole separation deal that doesn't get brought up when we talk about Star Trek and stuff, just because it just didn't really affect it.
I would love to see a Kurtzman Mission Impossible.
Oh, God.
Ooh, be careful with what you wish for.
Yo, yeah, don't.
If he's listening, he just realized he has a new potential idea now.
Sorry.
No. But yeah, so like we want to start wrapping this up anyway. But yeah, I really do see that as a good possibility.
Yeah. We have one more super chat from before that we didn't get through yet. Yes. It's a question. Also, Rm sent us a super chat before, a diamond one or super sticker. So thanks for that. And Nikki D asks, what are your thoughts on Wonder Woman 84's paltry box office returns in China? Think it will receive a better reception in the Western market? What are your thoughts, gentlemen?
I think the theater receipts are going to be garbage for a bunch of reasons. I don't know. I think a Christmas Day release of any movie, I wonder if people are just dying to get the fuck out of the house. No, I'm going to say the theater is going to be really lethargic. I don't think there's going to be much, but you're going to get a lot of eyeballs and signups for HBO Max because of that. If that already hasn't happened, I think it's going to be. I think a lot of people are going to sign up to get to see Wonder Woman 2. Am I crazy?
Script.
Yeah, I'm on the same side as Cecil. I think more people are going to sign up with HBO Max to watch it or rent it than they are going to go to the theaters, mostly because some people, especially in the US, they have to drive quite a distance to go to a theater that has it. Then there's also the restrictions of, are the theaters open? How many people can they allow in? You've got a lot of obstacles to overcome for it to have a better theatrical run in theaters in North America than other places. So I think it's going to be heavy on the HBO Max side of things.
Yeah, I think you guys are right, and I think AT&T doesn't care. All they care about is they're pushing HBO Max with it.
Yeah. I also think that the movie is going to underperform really badly, even relative to the number of theaters that it opens in. Also, I think that it's going to get a better reception from the entertainment media that will be all for it. I don't know how it's going to be received by the movie-going audience, or rather the streaming audience. As
It's
the
been pretty
movie-going
much
audience
getting lukewarm to negative so far.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I think is going to
Wait,
continue.
you think the critics are going to like a movie about a strong, powerful woman that takes on Donald Trump? You really think journalists?
Critics are already giving it like an 80%.
Yeah, the critics are going to love it.
They're going to eat it up. They're going to love that.
Yeah.
It's going to be another one of those audience versus critics reaction is going to be.
Yeah. Well, SC Reviews did his review this morning, and he's a real, big Snyder fan, and he said exactly what I had anticipated. It's not a sequel to the original Wonder Woman. Doesn't feel like one. Everything in the leaks was true. It's not horrid, but it's not nearly good enough to be great in any way, shape, or form. And it's got a lot of bad shit in it, sounds like. So yeah, like if you want to know what happens in it before you see it, there's plenty of videos out there, including ours, that break it down. So
yeah, an hour breakdown from 4 months ago or something was right on the money. Yeah, maybe 6 months ago or something. I don't remember.
I think it was even before the lockdown, to be honest with you, but I could be wrong. But then we got Mills with 35 South African rants. Is that what it is?
Yes.
It says Paramount Plus still hasn't confirmed all access content moving over, and Star Trek Discovery Season 4 is not begun shooting yet. Could be game over on that. They could be looking for a new home Trek. There was some rumors going around that they were trying to push Star Trek to Netflix as for a sale. I don't know about that. What do you guys think?
I would love it to get the fuck out of wherever it is now. Just wait, would they be bringing over the existing properties in Discovery and Picard, or just have the IP and be able to rebuild?
Well, that's a good question.
Because I watched the first issue. The first episode of Picard, and I don't know, maybe combined 20 minutes of Discovery. And I love Star Trek. I've watched all Star Trek, but every movie, everything. But I absolutely have a visceral reaction against what CBS has put out.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
I don't think it's worth enough for them to sell it. Like, they have devalued, and we brought this up before, but they have devalued it so far that I don't see that. I'm sure everything eventually will get moved over to Paramount Plus, or All Access will still quote unquote exist, but be another part of Paramount Plus. You know what I mean? Kind of like how Hulu and all these other services kind of have other, like even HBO Max has a section where you can go to Turner Classic Movies and all these other places and go through their catalog part. I think that's all it'll be. Is CBS All Access will just be a CBS portion on there, and that's where you'll find it. We'll see how it goes. As far as the money aspect goes, that's a good question. I don't know what all is going on there, but I really just don't see Star Trek being worth enough for them to sell it right now. What do you think, Scrib?
Yeah, I'd be really surprised if it didn't get ported over to Paramount Plus for their fourth season, if that ends up getting back into production. To your point, I also think I wouldn't be surprised if CBS All Access had like a portal within Paramount Plus, as you said before with HBO Max. That seems like an interesting way where you can kind of have your cake and eat it too, so to speak. Like, acknowledge, oh, CBS didn't fail. We just have Paramount Plus. That's where you go for movies and the Paramount owned TV stuff, and then the other stuff that we got in between that, you can go to CBS All Access for. It's all the same thing, all under the same tent, all under the same price type of thing.
Seems like brand confusion to me.
It does, yeah. But then again, leave it up to studios.
No, but that's how
to do a lot of brand confusion.
But that's how like HBO Max is set up right now. You have a section where you can go to the Turner Classic Movies section, you can go to the Cartoon Network section or whatever, the Boomerang section, stuff like that, the DC section. That's all it is. Even Disney Plus has it sectioned out by like Star Wars, Marvel, Disney Classics, all that kind of stuff. So I think that'll all be is it just be like, oh, CBS, you'll go under there and it'll be under just like with all the other Star Trek.
I
Could
think
be.
there might be more merging of these companies because I like to manage I like to have 3 at a time. Prime is it's impossible to get rid of because I still order Amazon. I want the shipping, so you're getting the video service with it. So Prime is like the staple, and then I can move around from Disney Plus to HBO Max or Netflix, and I usually keep 3. Like I'm done. Like I'm not watching anything on Netflix right now, so it's gone, and I'll bring up HBO Max, which I'm about to order. So I don't think people like having 6, 7 streaming service. I think they're going to start to realize you got to streamline it. What you want to get is the maximum amount of subscribers and have the most content. So you're just watering it down by. I'm getting off track, but I think
No, I think you're right.
I think you're going to see merging of. I don't think Paramount CBS is going to be successful without getting absorbed by another streaming. If they become part of Prime or Prime picks them up or. Yeah, I don't think most people want to be carrying that many. That was the whole point of getting streaming over cable is it's a la carte. You just pick what you want and you cancel. You stop paying what you're not watching. And but I do like having like about 3. I like 3 choices for some reason. That's just
no, and I think I think that's about the average. I think, and you hit on 2 points there, and the one main being that not everybody can afford more than a couple services at a time. And I've actually talked to friends who have cable or satellite or whatnot still, and I've discussed possibly having them go through and seeing how many different services they would have to have right now to continue watching what they have on TV already that they're paying for and all that kind of stuff, just to see how much of a difference it would be. And then add in, of course, all the exclusive stuff that you have to, and just to see where the difference in the price would be just as a kind of a cold kind of a test just to see. And I mean, we already kind of can guess where it's going to go, but Cecil, and the other part is you just basically talked about what we've been talking about for the last few years here, and that is the streaming wars. And you're right. I don't think Paramount Plus is going to make it on its own. They're not one of the services that's really going to be able to rise above the rest, and that this whole thing with HBO Max is one thing we've been talking about is the whole motivation for this was to get them back into the game because they're pretty much, they're down at that level with some of the little guys right now, and they shouldn't be. So, and I mean, they're making headway now. They've gained like, I think 5, 6, 7 million subscribers just in the last few weeks when we've seen some reports coming out. But of course, these are staggered reports over the months. So we'll never really see the full numbers of what Wonder Woman 84 actually did for subscribers until probably 2-3 months down the road, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, unless there's a huge influx, in which case it's to the benefit of HBO to advertise it. Yeah, we're probably not going to see much.
No, I wouldn't be surprised, though, if this whole Wonder Woman thing nets them anywhere from 30 to it could get 70, 80 million subscribers. How many? Like think about this, though. Even if it's just for 1 month, like Cecil was saying, you sign up for HBO Max, you pay $15 to watch fucking Wonder Woman. You would have paid more than that just to go see it in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
By yourself, let alone if you have a whole family.
Yeah, you got a family together and on Christmas Day release, right? So
yeah, 9 a.m. I think Pacific time, and then I think it's 1 or whatever on the other side. But whatever my math, I suck with fucking time zones. Don't get me started. But yeah, I think it's at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Christmas Day. It drops.
That's noon in Eastern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a couple of hours on the high seas. So
it'll be there.
Yeah,
probably.
And of course we do not condone that at all. And we just have to warn you that on the high seas there's loads of nasty spyware and malware, and you can get in all kinds of trouble. Which is why it's generally recommended to use like a VPN if one is to go to the high seas.
And we recommend Surfshark.
We do. So code midnight upon checkout.
That will get you a special deal. That's right. And with that, I think we've gone much farther than we wanted to, but you guys have hung in there. You guys have been a great audience. We can't do this without you. I want to thank you guys so much for making this show the success it has been. And I also want to thank guys like Script for always hanging in there and being our co-pilots at times. And guys like Cecil for being our guests and helping making these things happen. Thank you so much, Cecil, for taking the time out of your day and getting up early to be here. Appreciate it. Well, you were...
Thank you for having me, and have a Merry Christmas to all of you and everyone in the chat.
You were probably day drinking anyway, but
yeah, of course.
I figured, I was just trying to save face for you, but I fucked that up. But no, check out Cecil's channel if you haven't already. I'm sure you have, but we'll share the link for that. It's also in the description. Check out Script Doctor's channel if you haven't already. He does great work as well. And you said, when's that Jack Show bit you were talking about, Cecil? When that's going to be? When is
Jack
that?
Show is tomorrow night. I think John Malin is in. He sent me a message just now saying he's in for. We're going to do it at like 9 o'clock instead of 11. So it's going to be an early Jack Show. I think Kelsey's in. Ethan will probably drop by. Anna is out. She'll probably call in though. So yeah, Jack Show tomorrow night. Cash Grab ends tonight. If anybody's interested, it's on Indiegogo.
All right. There you go, folks, for who are asking about the Jack Show. That's the info you were looking for. So check out Cecil's channel, as we said before, as well, for all his fun stuff. If you haven't checked out his channel, I do recommend the first thing you do is go see his review of Wizard of Oz.
Oh, yes. That's a great one.
So there you go. All right. With that, Andre, anything else you want to say before we go?
No, I just wanted to thank you all for joining us today. Check out the interview that we did with Alan Dean Foster yesterday, and be sure to check us out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. LA time. That's 6 p.m. Central European time, and of course, there's going to be the regular editorial and mini documentary content in between.
Absolutely. And Friday, we have the one, the only Robert Meyer Burnett joining us. So, yeah, I mean, of course, I think it'll be a short show because we were like that, or maybe we'll have to delay it so we can watch Wonder Woman. We'll have to see. But we'll let you know, guys. We definitely got that happening.